All right, we should be live. Howdy, howdy, everybody. Welcome, welcome. All right, the audio should be working, I think. Okay, yeah, audio looks good. Anarchist sending 100 gifts. I don't actually know what that means. But thank you. What's going on? I'm just running late because I had a meeting and I had to edit a video, which is still not done with. So, sorry for running a little bit late. We do have our first guest though, so we can bring them on. Let's talk to other genders.
Yo, what's going on, Blitz?
Other genders, how's it going?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Good, glad to hear it. I just need to fix something really quick. So, quick question. Oh, that would be so funny. Sorry, I have this brilliant idea. Where is there it is. Okay, so move this. I have this amazing idea. Sorry, one sec. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Anyway, so other genders. Are you MAGA?
Yeah, I did vote for Trump.
Okay. And like, you know, you would continue to endorse what he's doing, that kind of thing?
Like less so when I initially voted for him, but yeah, I would still support him.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask you just three quick yes or no? You can say unsure as well. Questions, and then we can talk about it really quick.
Yeah,
and then we can talk about the topic. So, do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. Do you think that vaccines that we typically administer to children, think like the MMR vaccine, do you think that these are generally safe and effective?
Yep. Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
Okay. And do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, cool. So, I can explain what I mean by MAGA's anti-science, if that would be helpful to kind of frame the conversation. Or we can just jump right in. It's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to talk about like a policy prescription that I think would be more aligned with science that is like typically held from MAGA voters and not from the other side of the aisle. I agree that there definitely is like a subset of MAGA voters that are in denial of pretty basic scientific facts, kind of like the ones that you just outlined with those three questions.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say like in the capacity of maintaining consistent, coherent sex markers on legal identification, like that would be an aspect where the non-MAGA side would advocate for people with, say, trans identities to be able to falsify those sex markers on the basis of unfalsifiable self-proclamations of identity. I think that would be inherently anti-science.
How is this anti-science? Like, how is this, you know, going against, you know, what we might call scientific consensus or rejecting scientific institutions and so on?
Because there's no scientific consensus that trans women without surgical or hormonal intervention are categorically female. So
yeah, okay.
And vice versa for trans men.
So is your claim merely that not that trans men are not men, trans women are not women, but merely the female versus male distinction?
Yeah, it's like the gender recognition certificates kind of entail this conflation of sex and gender, which I think is particularly problematic, especially when it comes to upload.
So we agree that sex and gender are distinct, right? And we agree that that's like
100%.
the scientific view. Okay.
Yeah.
And so so you're suggesting that we should display sex on certain documents rather than gender?
I'm not saying that. That is what is currently implemented. My solution would be to display both sex and gender on legal identification. I don't think that we should be like changing the sex markers on the basis of trans identities, which is what the current implementation is.
So I'm actually curious what you think, and you know, it sounds like that you just have this is a conversation that we can have. What is the goal of the various markers? Like, I actually don't know. Like, why do we have gender or sex markers on these
for sure. I mean,
identification
it's like,
documents?
It's situational for sure, but like in some capacity, it's to like maintain who has valid category membership to male or female only spaces. Like, for example, a domestic violence shelter that's for women. Oftentimes they use this legal sex recognition marker to grant people access.
Right, but so if it's for women, then shouldn't we be talking about gender and not sex?
Well, you just asked me for an example where that would be used. I'm saying there are women's only domestic violence shelters that do use that legal recognition of female to grant people access. So that would just be an example. I'm not saying that
Okay,
like
sure.
that would entail that my understanding of women is going to be based on sex. I'm just saying like that is an example where that sex recognition marker is
where that
used
would
as
be
a
used.
mechanism to grant
Sure.
people category membership. Yeah.
Sure. So it's your position that we should just have both displayed?
I mean, to be
That would
honest,
the
I think that that's
policy
like
position
the
that you
best trans
suggest?
inclusive view, because I can't argue that it just should be sex, because I agree in some capacity that's like trans exclusionary.
Mhm.
But I think like having man or woman and male or female might be a better way to approach that. Yeah.
I mean, perhaps, but do you think that this is a position that the right wing, that MAGA is generally would be in favor of?
No, not necessarily, but I would say that it's anti-science to advocate for just allowing the falsification of the sex markers in any capacity.
Well, so, I mean, if you're defining sex merely as gametes, then perhaps, but that's a policy decision. That's not a position regarding the science, right?
Well, even with the more lenient understandings of male and female, right? There's no surgical or hormonal intervention necessary to obtain these gender recognition certificates. Sure. So it's purely going to be based on the persistence, consistency, and insistence of the gender identity claim, which has nothing to do with like reaching a sufficient condition for that trans woman being female. Like, I understand that there are views of female that would be trans inclusive, like the 3 out of 5, but it's not the understanding these aren't necessary components when you're obtaining that gender recognition certificate, is what I mean.
Right. So I guess so. There's, I mean, this is more of a policy decision, a policy prescription rather than a scientific conversation. But would you understand that if, suppose that we were to include both sex and gender on passports or on IDs, whatever, do you think that would, and again, this is a policy conversation rather than a scientific conversation, but do you think that would be beneficial to trans folks, or do you think that would put trans folks more in danger?
Yeah, I think it would be beneficial in the regard that like it allows them to have an affirmed identity on their like legal identification. I think if we just kept the sex markers consistent with their objective sex category, then it would kind of be unaffirming in a way to have like a trans woman only be recognized as male on their ID. So I just think it's the more pragmatic solution to also include the gender recognition certificate, or sorry, the gender marker on the ID versus overriding the sex marker. Like, it is a policy decision. You're right. I don't have a super strong position on that. I just think that that's like the most pragmatic solution here.
So the only concern that I have, because like, sure, like I think that in a just world, both categories are useful. For example, if you're going to the doctor, it's useful to know your assigned sex, for example. Like, regardless of how you're defining sex, it can be useful to know what your sex is, right? Whereas if you are, trying to go to a women's only space, for example, for victims of domestic violence, then perhaps gender might be more relevant. But the concern here is that by doing this, you are outing trans people as trans. And historically, at least, this is not a particularly safe thing to do.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that. Like, I understand that this is something that we have to overcome societally and introduce like better trans acceptance legislation. I don't see how we're going to do that by falsifying sex markers. So just out of curiosity, to clarify one thing, would you say that it's anti-science to legally denote somebody who is a trans woman who is pre-surgical and pre-hormonal intervention as a female on their legal identification? Would you consider that to be anti-science?
That is strictly false. I'm not sure if it's anti-science. I think, and I'll clarify what I mean by that. I think that traditionally, 50 years ago, 70 years ago, whenever these documents were first instructed, there was an identification between sex and gender that was happening societally. And so F just meant lady, M just meant dude. And so that has carried over. And so even though the goal is trying to be trans inclusive, there's not a W category that is available in passports, right? For women versus, I mean, M works because it could be male or man, but there's not a W category. So I think all they're trying to do is convey that this person's a woman rather than convey that this person's a female. Now, you could say that that's probably a category error, and it probably is. The correct thing to do if you wanted to do this properly would be to overhaul the passport system that we have and replace F with W, because that's what the passport was for. It wasn't particularly for, internal things. Perhaps it was for making sure that the person is who they say they are, and if they present as a woman and the passport says M, then there'd be a problem. The person would be called into questioning and there'd be problems, right? So I think all that's happening is that people were using the F category to signify woman, despite that not being a correct identification, right?
Yeah, no, I think we
to say
agree
that
a lot
it's
more than we disagree,
falsification
to be honest. Like,
kind
if
of
it was
implies some
M&W,
connotation
absolutely.
that to say that something's being falsified is probably a little bit uncharitable compared to what's going on, right?
Well, I don't think it's okay. Maybe
do you think that-
unfalsifiable. Like,
Do you think
Go
that
ahead.
trans women who are pre-hormonal, do you think that they see themselves as female?
in some capacity, yeah, I've spoken to plenty of trans women who are pre-hormonal, pre-surgical
then those-
intervention,
I mean,
who do
surely
regard
those
themselves as
people-
female in some capacity.
Surely, well, okay, in some capacity. In what capacity?
Well, it's varying depending on the situation, because obviously it's going to be just something that they're like subjectively interpreting about themselves. It's not consistent across all of them. Like the way that they justify themselves as female is going to vary.
So, and maybe we just have different experiences chatting with people, but I've never spoken with a trans woman who says, who's pre-hormonal, who says, yeah, I'm female.
You've never had someone like substantiate that with the BNST study, saying that their neuroanatomy is more aligned with the female sex?
I've had people say that it's more aligned. I've never had somebody say that they are female.
Okay, I've had somebody say that they are female on the basis of that neuroanatomical claim. So,
so
maybe
if
we just
that's so, I mean, we can go either way. If it's the case that that's insufficient to get you to femaleness, right? Then it would just be the case that the person who makes that claim is wrong, which fine, people can be wrong about things. On the other hand, if it's the case that that is sufficient, then it would just not be falsified, right? It would just not be a falsified claim that the representation on documents is incorrect.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't like the nomenclature, that's fine. I would just say that it would be like, if a trans woman was female, would that not make them a cis woman because they're a female whose gender identity is in alignment with the female
Yeah,
sex?
I mean, so probably that's a question for how we define words. Some people might say that you're trans if your gender identity differs from the typical gender identity that would have been associated with the sex assigned at birth. So that's a more of a linguistic issue than it is like a scientific issue. Clearly,
right,
we understand
but like
that
even in that context,
there
you're
are
still
distinctions.
it's still referent to the sex category and the incongruence between the gender identity and the sex category.
Well, yeah, but so the question is just, does it refer to the sex category assigned at birth, or is it the sex category that is composed of gametes, or is this the sex category that's say 3 of 5, or is the sex category at least 1 of 5? Like these are distinctions that perhaps need to be made. Perhaps we need to be precise with our language. Perhaps we need some agreed upon definitions, or perhaps we don't, and we can just understand from context clues what's being meant. But either, just backing up, either it's the case that the sex categories are indeed determined by, say, brain structures. Perhaps that's true. Perhaps that's what we agree upon, in which case the markers on the government identifications are just not incorrect, right? On the
But
other
they
hand,
also don't require that BNST is substantiate or like to substantiate this identity claim, right? That's not what
Sure.
we're measuring when we administer
but
these.
to be clear, when I mark down on my driver's license application form, I don't have to substantiate that I have XY chromosomes, or I don't have to substantiate that I have the brain structures of a male. I don't have to substantiate any of that. So like when we're marking these documents, we never have to substantiate the biological claims, right?
Right, but there is a standardized process for changing it when we're changing from male to female, right? There is a process in place to do that. It's not just going to be based on a self-proclamation. Like there is recognition that's required on the basis of persistence, consistency, and insistence.
Sure.
So it's not like it's just something that is self-proclaimed and unverified. There is going to be.
That's treated as evidence for these biological features, presumably, or at least for the brain structures for these people who make that claim.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think we agree more than we disagree, but I would hold to the position that it is anti-science to recognize a natal male who doesn't have surgical or hormonal intervention legally as a female.
I mean, so that, and perhaps that's correct. It does sound like that this is more of a semantic distinction rather than a scientific distinction. Now, if your claim is that this is a position that is closer, this is a position, I mean, that very well may be true. And so there's questions about how we define these terms in a very precise way. It seems like that this A, doesn't address whether or not MAGA is anti-science, and B, is not even really a claim of the left wholly. Now, it may be the case that this is a claim of like some extreme people on the left, some ultra progressives, some people who have a wacky definition of.
It's pretty dogmatic on the left to advocate for gender recognition certificates.
Gender recognition is fine. No. What I'm talking about is the idea that one can claim say male with like pre-hormonally pre-surgery, or claim female pre-hormonal pre-surgery, etc. That's a claim I've never heard anybody on the left ever make.
Well,
I've never even
the
heard
sex
somebody on
markers
the
are
left make the
necessarily
claim
entailed
that,
with the gender recognition certificates because we don't have gender markers on legal identification currently. So it's going to be necessarily entailed that the position is that we're referencing the sex markers when somebody's advocating for gender recognition certificates.
But it also follows that somebody should be getting, or somebody should be seeking out gender recognition certificates pre-transition. Both of those things have to be met in order for this this claim of the left generally being accepting of anti-science holding, right? It has to be A, we want gender recognition certificates, and B, we encourage people pre any transition to obtain those certificates.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like a necessary component of transition to undergo surgical or hormonal intervention. I think that like social transition is just as valid. I don't think that like a trans woman needs to undergo that surgical or hormonal intervention.
That's true, but the question is about the gender. What are they called? The gender marker certificates, gender identity certificates,
gender recognition certificates.
Gender recognition certificates. Thank you. The claim is that the gender recognition certificates are being advocated for such people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that the case?
From my experience, like it's going to be anecdotal, but yes, I have met very few people on the left who are skeptical of gender recognition certificates for people who haven't undergone surgical or hormonal intervention. It's going to be based on the trans identity where the advocation
on the left, all things considered.
Say it again. Sorry, was that a question?
I haven't even seen this brought up on the left, all things considered, but you might have a different experience than I do.
Yeah, I have fairly regular conversations about it now, albeit that is like in debate spaces typically. But yeah,
Sure.
No, the position tends to be no surgical or hormonal threshold set, because then it's just going to be trans exclusionary for people who don't meet those, right?
Sure. So okay. So suppose that it is the case. Do you think that the general consensus is on the left? And I'm just trying to examine what exactly the claim being made here is. So the way that I refer to, the way that I describe anti-science is kind of twofold. One, rejecting scientific consensus that is politically inconvenient, and two, seeking to dismantle those institutions and those procedures that are used to construct the scientific consensus that is politically inconvenient. So would you say that the left, at least in this category, meets those criteria?
I wouldn't say the seeking to dismantle the institutions that are perpetrating would be met there. No, I think it would just be like the denial on the basis of political convenience.
Okay, so
like just the first component.
Wait, so what's the scientific consensus that's probably that you think is being rejected here?
That like natal male people who don't have surgical or hormonal intervention aren't female people.
I mean, but it sounded like what you were alluding to earlier is that there is at least some evidence that suggests that what appear to be natal male people might indeed have female structures.
I was steel manning the argument because that's what you were asking about. I do not believe
Sure.
that is the case, that the BNST of a trans woman would substantiate that they are female, just because we understand that like gay males, they exhibit the
Sure.
same BNST structures.
Sure.
And in that deviation that we observe, they are still much closer to males than they are to females. Okay, so I wasn't using that to like substantiate the position that they would be females based on that neuroanatomy. I was just like steel manning the position because you were asking me about why.
So what do you think the left position is that the left is rejecting? You think that the left position is something like, or sorry, the scientific position that the left is rejecting, you think is something like natal males can be females without any biological procedures?
Yeah. Natal males pre-trans affirming surgical or hormonal intervention aren't females.
Right. And again, it seems like it, and again, talking from just my experience, which is of course anecdotal, I'm friends with several trans folks. I've talked about this topic plenty. It seems like most people on the left recognize the distinction between sex and gender, and unless they're specifically citing some source that makes the claim that there's indeed a brain distinction, which, seems like it's probably contentious right now, like whether there are brain structural distinctions or brain functional distinctions. That seems like that's up in the air. There seems to be some evidence for it, but perhaps not compelling evidence or strong evidence. Surely we can agree on that. It seems like that there isn't a consensus that's being rejected here. If it is indeed the case that there is something contentious about whether or not there are brain distinctions, like structural or functional brain distinctions, then it seems like that there just isn't a consensus about that. And if the question is about whether or not the left thinks that one can be female without any sort of hormonal or surgical treatments while being assigned male at birth, then the only way that they could be against the agreed upon consensus is that the left would have to make the claim that they are, say, chromosomally able to transition somehow, or have the female gametes or something like that. And that's just not a claim the left makes. What the left will occasionally make is something like, oh, there might be some brain structures, and so that would allow someone to identify as male or female that way. But
right, but what I'm getting at really is that the advocacy for these gender recognition certificates tends to be absent any necessary requirement of these interventions.
Right, but that's a policy prescription. It's not a rejection of the science, perhaps. I mean, what you can say, or what can happen, it's not necessarily. It could be an understanding of the science and then a recognition that the policy has to be something that looks like it is in conflict in order to support some other sociological position or something like that, right? So, for example, suppose for a moment that we know that the MAGA wing at least has a subset that is very anti-climate change, doesn't think climate change is real. But suppose that the people in charge actually did know that climate change was real, but still encouraged burning fossil fuels, right? Burning coal, or perhaps encouraged destroying solar panels for whatever reason, right? It could be the case that they're making that policy prescription because they think that climate change isn't real. It could also be the case that they're making those policy prescriptions because they're like, well, climate change is real, but it's more important to support the coal industry. Can you see how one involves the rejection of consensus and the other doesn't, despite them having the same policy prescription?
Yeah, and I would see how that could be analogous to the gender recognition certificates if there was advocacy for any substantiation of being female, but it tends to just be, well, how does it affect you? Why does it bother you? It aligns with their identity. Like it's never really substantiating, okay, no, this is why they would be justified as having valid category membership for female. It's, I mean, as I've seen in like hundreds of comments going by, it's why does it matter to you? It aligns more closer with their identity. Who cares? Why is this used? Like it doesn't have to be substantiating why they're actually female. It's just advocacy because it aligns closer with their identity.
The point is that the advocacy for these certificates seems like it's more in line with trying to push for sociological acceptance than it is to reject the scientific consensus.
Right, sociological acceptance as a female.
Well, sociological acceptance, sure. I mean, I understand that. The point is that the categories that we have on these documents don't include W. So if your goal is to just do the best you can, then you would put, so F would be the closest thing that you could do if you wanted to advocate for acceptance of, say, trans women on their government identifications with the current
structure of the government identifications. But it's not close to what male people are, is the issue.
It's not,
like F isn't close to what male people are, is what I'm saying.
It's not close.
Whereas, like male people are close to being female on the basis of...
My point is that it seems like it could be a policy prescription where the individual, or where the policymakers, rather, the policymakers recognize, yeah, and you know, perhaps it's a hypothetical, we can't read their minds, but they recognize, yes, female is not the same as woman, which obviously people on the left would agree upon. However, and I think most people on the left would understand that you can be male and be a woman, right? Well, actually, I don't even know if it's most, probably something like half. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But even if you held that position that most trans folks, most trans women are going to be male, you can still advocate for having an F on an official document because that's the best we can do to A, not out the person, and B, affirm their identity. It's not exactly affirming their identity, right, but it's close.
I mean, neither of those points for substantiation justify them being a female, which just goes, I think we're just going to run into this issue over and over, right? Neither of those points are justifying that they are female, and so it's going to render that it is falsification, at least under my understanding of that term. So I think we're just going in circles at this point, honestly.
Okay, I mean, if we're going in circles, that's fine, we can call it there. All I'm saying is that one can recognize that the structures, organizations, that's probably not right. The formatting of the documents that we have available doesn't allow for the distinction. And so instead, we do our best, even if we recognize that it's technically false.
Okay, there it is. Yeah, technically false. I agree.
Right, but if you know that it's technically false, then that's not rejecting the science.
Okay, that's fine. I think we can
Right.
agree that it is technically false. I think the advocacy generally
I mean,
falls
that's
outside of
the
justifying.
question of brain structure is still up in the air, but sure, for the sake of argument, we could say that it's technically false, and that doesn't make there. And if you know that, then you're not rejecting the science, right?
I mean, yeah, I truly think we're just going to end up going back in circles here. I think we can just call it there, agreeing on that.
But you agree that if you know that it's false, but you're doing the best you can, then it's not anti-science, right?
Well, I don't think that moral virtue on the basis of falsification is going to be justified in this context, no.
Well, the question is not about whether it's justified, whether it's like moral to do so. The question is whether or not the people making the decisions are anti-science, right?
Yeah, and as I've already said several times, I think it is anti-science to legally recognize somebody who is a natal male as a female person, even if, as you agreed, it's technically not true, on the basis of substantiating their identity or because it's the best option we have, quote unquote, right? I don't think that's going to substantiate this.
And you know, just based off the definitions that we have, would you say that a person who is anti-climate change, who understands that climate change is real and that burning fossil fuels contributes to that, and understands the dangers of climate change, but still advocates for increased coal burning because they value the coal industry so highly, would that be anti-science to have that policy prescription?
Yeah, I mean that's a good way of putting it. Like I don't know if I would answer that question absolutely yes or absolutely no.
Well, then it seems like you can't answer the similar question, right?
Well, if you're putting your
gender identification or sex identification,
which is why we're going in circles, yeah.
Right. But it seems like if you this seems like an almost perfect parallel, right? You can understand the scientist and still have a policy prescription that apparently deviates from what you would expect from the scientific consensus or the scientific observations. But the reason why you have that policy prescription is not because you reject the consensus, but rather because you value something else more.
Right? Okay, so outside of anti-science, then would you say it's anti-truth in any capacity?
I don't even know what that means. I'm a truth pluralist. Okay, I think that there are different notions of truth in different settings.
Would you say it's like anti-objectivity?
So what I would say is that I think the jury's probably still out as to whether or not we can talk about gendered brain structures. I'm not convinced one way or the other. What is the case is that these people are not going to have certain gametes. Brain structures are also not a necessary condition here. That was just an example of an argument. No, I know. But that is
like, given the current implementation, is it anti-objectivity to recognize any male person who makes an unfalsifiable self-proclamation about their identity as a female?
Any male person who makes a self-proclamation.
Correct.
Is that anti-objectivity? As in, well, no. I mean, like all these things are of course subjective.
Is male and female, are those categories subjective?
Well, they are. Okay, well, you're not going to like this. I'm a nominalist. So like these kinds of categories are the kinds of things that I would call always subjective because they're dependent on the mind.
Is it referent to something that's objective?
Yeah, so it's probably not using the M category or using the F category to refer to somebody who is in all respects biologically male. Suppose that the brain structure stuff is not, then that would not be the case. It would just not be the case, right?
It wouldn't be the case that what?
The person with the F category who has all of the biological trappings of a male, if they have all biological trappings of a male and we recognize male's biological category, then it would just not be the case that the F category accurately represents their biological category. That's the obviously.
No, just like even more base level. I'm asking you, like, are the categories male and female referent to something that is objective?
Do you mean like referent to something that exists?
Referent to something that exists mind independently.
Sure.
Okay, great.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like, but to be clear, so do like, I don't know, other things that we would generally, like, you can have subjective categories that refer to real things, right? Like a spiral galaxy compared with an elliptic galaxy. These are obviously subjective categories, but the galaxies that are being referred to in the shape of those galaxies are things that actually exist.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So males and females, those categories are going to be referent to something which exists mind independently.
Actually exist. The biological structures actually exist. The categories that we construct for them are obviously subjective because they're constructed categories that we produced.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree
And
with that at all.
so like, if the claim is merely that it's like anti-truth, well, I mean, sure, I guess you could say that in the same way that it's like anti-truth that burning coal is good. But
I mean,
these are like
that's exactly what I
evaluations,
wanted
right?
to substantiate. Yeah, no, that's because I couldn't say in that capacity with that parallel that it would be anti-science. You did bring up a good point, but in those both cases, yes, it would be anti-truth, at least in some capacity, as you agree.
But questions about the way that we categorize things, these are subjective claims to begin with.
Agree.
Right.
Agree.
And so, like, to say that there is some objective reality of whether you're M or F, or sorry, some objective reality of whether you're M or F, well, those are human constructed categories to begin with.
They are human constructive categories, but as we've already agreed, they are going to be referenced to something objective.
Yeah. I mean, they point to biological features, but like the categories themselves are constructed. Surely we agree on that.
I've already agreed with you on that. Yeah.
Okay. And we've also agreed that probably it's not correct to say that it's anti-science. At best, you could say that it's like anti-truth seems awkward. You could say that it's like misrepresentative of their biology, you could say. That's probably
misrepresentative of their scientifically observed biology. Sure, that's fine.
I mean, biology is a science.
Correct.
So it seems like if you want to add that language, you can. It just seems like it's loading for some intentional purpose. But sure.
I'm not going to deny that it was intentional. Yeah, it was intentional, but
in the same way that
you didn't refute it, so
in the same way that being pro coal is, for whatever reason, is misrepresentative of the climate effects that the fossil fuel industry has in the world.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Now, just as an aside before we kill it here, because it sounds like that we're probably reaching a reasonable stopping point, would you say that this is this issue that you brought up is the most significant case? Sorry, I already have one. I couldn't find it. Most significant case of what you would say like anti-truth is, or whatever phrasing you wanted to use, on the left?
No. And to be honest with you, I'm not MAGA. I'm not in the States. I didn't vote for Trump. I'm from Canada. I just wanted to pretext that conversation to get up here, but.
Well, that's kind of rude.
Yeah, well, I don't mind.
Mods block him.
I'll block her.
Well, I don't want to talk to somebody who's gonna lie to me. Mods, you know what to do. Kind of a dick move, to be honest. He misrepresented his views. All right, well, that's fine. I mean, I kind of assumed he was coming in bad faith, but we do our best to have charitable conversations, right? He could have just been honest, though. All right, so we have, from Gretchen, we have the $3. Oh, I need to put, do I do it like this? Yeah, I need to reorient these things, sorry. From Gretchen, we have the $3, no reason in particular. Well, thank you so much, Gretchen. I appreciate that. From the J Pump with the $5, oh, we can just send money without a reason? You can, yeah. And from Cherry Bomb Games with the $10, yes, if my eyes are actually teal, but on the government forms they're listed as blue, obviously I'm lying and denying the science that says my eyes aren't actually blue. And from, yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, the distinction is a fair one. Like, in our current structure, and like, look, this is a fair point. In our current structure, we don't have a way to, okay, let's back up. On the way that we have, like, government identification, we have M and F, and I think we have X now as well. And so, but disregarding X, we have M and F. And so, 50 years ago, this was understood as a category that referred to women and men. And, in some way, these were viewed as joint categories, right? Maybe 100 years ago, whatever it is. And so there was no need for separate, at least at the time it was viewed this way, there was no need for separate categories for sex and gender. There is no need to put the gender on there rather than sex, right? So they just used M and F. And now the thing is we have an entrenched system where all of our driver's licenses, all of our passports either say M or F or maybe X. And so the minimal change required to be trans accepting is not to put the sex associated with to put the sex that the trans person was assigned at birth. The minimal change, while recognizing that it's technically false, if you take like a gamete view of sex, for example, while recognizing it's technically false, the minimal change that you can make to be inclusive towards trans folks is to use the opposite sex category. That's the minimal change. Now, in an ideal world, we would revamp the whole system and just use gender categories, for example, except on, or perhaps have both categories if it were the case that outing people wouldn't be harmful. But that's not the world we live in, and so you have to make a policy prescription that is optimal. And the optimal policy prescription, even if it's the case that it's technically false at a biological level, then it just would follow that you should do that if it decreases harm, if that's your goal. So the point that he was making is, I don't know, maybe he wanted a clip or something that he wanted me to admit that it's false or something, which, you know, like, fine, it is, it's technically false. The point is that the policy prescription is made to minimize harm, even if you recognize that it's technically false. So, and those two things are not necessarily in conflict. Or perhaps no gender categories. Yeah, I mean, there is a question about, like, as long as you have a picture, why do you need gender categories? That's probably, maybe that's a holdover from back before they had like photos, like regular photos for people in identification. I don't know. But it's an interesting conversation to have nonetheless. It did seem like a little bit gotcha-y though, which fine. And from Christopher Sanford with £5, I joined an anti-science stream late, and what's this? Of course, the colors whining about trans people. They're obsessed. Check a search history. Yeah, I mean, that is true. Like, it is an obsession at this point, but I don't even know what technically false means. Are people counting chromosomes and their expressions? Yeah, that's the issue. Like, for most trans folks, right? Most people who are, say, assigned male at birth and are trans women, in most of the case, they will have XY chromosomes. That is going to be that will be the case most of the time. They will have, you know, they will be able to produce male gametes, at least if it's pre-surgery, pre-hormone treatment, etc. But that's a statistical case, and so to show that it's technically false, you'd probably have to make some sort of biological tests, which I don't think anybody wants, right? From Veronica with the $10, people with no understanding of queer trans theory just out here saying shit. Magnus Hirschfeld was running circles around these people 100 years ago. Such a shame we backslid so much. Yeah, I mean, that's the reality of the world that we live in. This is the hot button issue. It used to be the gays, now it's the trans. From Cherry Bomb Games with the 10, oh, I already read this. Okay, that's all we have. Let's bring up our next guest. Let's bring up Mac.
How's it going?
Mac, I'm doing all right. How are you?
All right, so there's a universal language. Every identity has a noun
Mac,
and a verb.
before we start, Mac, are you MAGA?
Huh?
Are you MAGA?
No, that's a noun, verb. I don't know how to express it.
It's a what?
Now, look at the word.
MAGA is a political identifier.
Okay. So if MAGA is anti-science, then AGAM is the relationship.
I don't think that this is going to be productive. Let's bring up Josh the Money Man. All right, Josh the Money Man is not connecting. Let's check out Discord, make sure that I don't miss anybody. Nobody's in Discord either. Josh the Money Man, how's it going?
It's fine. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Josh, are you MAGA?
Yes, I am.
Okay, 1 sec. Okay, do you live in the United States?
Yes, I do.
Okay, now, do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
I don't think I have a solid answer to that, but I think they contribute a huge part to climate change.
Okay, I can put unsure, that's fine. Do you think that vaccines that we typically administer to children, like the MMR vaccine, are safe and effective?
Yeah, vaccines are very safe, and I think vaccines are a big breakthrough to science.
Cool. And do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
Yes, I do think so.
Okay. Now, look, do you want me to explain what I mean by anti-science?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so what I mean by anti-science is something for a political movement, is that A, they reject the political movement rejects the scientific consensus when it's politically inconvenient, and B, they seek to undermine the institutions that produce that scientific consensus. That's just what I mean by the phrase. So if you want to use that, if you want to frame the so that we can frame the conversation. Now, do you think that MAGA, the political movement, matches that criteria?
No, I do not.
Okay, why not?
I think MAGA is actually pro-science because a lot of the people that work hand in glove with the MAGA government are actually the people at the forefront of breakthrough technology for the human species.
Technology and science are different things.
Technology is a subset of science.
No, it's not.
Technology is out of the set of science.
No, it's not.
Are you saying
Just because you're
technology?
an inventor doesn't make you a scientist.
But the whole field of technology falls under a subset of science.
No,
Do
it
you
doesn't.
disagree with that?
Yeah, of course I do. Technology isn't even a field of study. Science is a broad category of many fields of study, and technology is not in that category. You may be thinking of like technologists, people who...
How do you lead technological advancements without the use of science? Isn't technology just the application of science?
Yeah, so technology is developed through the application of science. That's called engineering. It's not science.
So could you please call to me some 3 breakthroughs in humanity that are science related without being technology related?
Yeah, general relativity, quantum mechanics, the heliocentric, or and you know, the helical structure of DNA. Let's say none of these were technological achievements.
Yeah, but they do fall under the field of technology because we use those scientific knowledge to improve on our technology, like the AlphaFold with Google.
So you can apply scientific discoveries to produce new technologies, but that doesn't make technology science.
Well, I'd say we just have to agree to disagree on that one.
Why do you think, do you know what STEM stands for?
Yeah.
What does it stand for?
Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Right. So if technology was science, why does it get its own category?
Okay, so why does math get its own category too?
Because it's not a science.
Math is not a science.
Of course not. It's not empirical.
Well, you're the one with a PhD, so I can't really argue that. But I don't believe technology is not a science.
Okay. So let's just, we can reframe the conversation this way, because what I mean by science is, I guess, different from what you mean by science. What I mean by science, and I've already defined this. Oh, Josh, just a quick question. Why is your account registered in Cameroon? It's also locked in Cameroon.
My mom is Cameroonian, so...
Why is your account from Cameroon? It's, in fact, it's region locked.
My mom
Why is your account region locked to Cameroon?
Could you give me a second to answer you, please?
Yeah, sure.
My mom's Cameroonian and my dad's American, but they separated now, so anytime we get to see our mom, it's always going to be in Cameroon.
Okay, so what time is it right now?
What time is it right now in Cameroon or in America?
No, where you live, where you are right now, and what time is it?
Right now it's 11 o'clock.
Okay, and what state do you live in?
Houston.
That's not a state, my guy.
I said
Well, he tried. It's crazy that, like, foreigners are pro-MAGA. Like, it's about America. Why are you pro MAGA if you're not from the United States? Yeah, also, that's true. It is noon in Texas. Let's talk to Millbill. Millbill, how's it going?
Yeah, earlier you said that math is not empirical, and I would like to argue against that. I believe math is deeply empirical.
Okay, cool. That's not the topic today. From Veronica Cromit with the $10. People with no understanding of queer trans theory just out. I already read this too. I don't know why it's duplicating. All right, let's talk to Jamie B. Jamie B, how's it going? It's not that I don't mind talking to foreign people. It's that I don't like when foreign people lie to me about where they live. Like if he said, yeah, I'm from Cameroon, but my dad's American, or whatever he said, and so I have a strong opinion about American politics, I'd be like, okay, fine. But he lied to me. Let's talk to King E. Oh, we've talked to King E before.
Hey, how's it
King
going,
E,
Doctor?
you're the flat earther. Are you also MAGA?
Am I MAGA?
Yeah.
Yeah, I voted for Donald Trump 3 times. Three-time voter right here, man.
Yeah, cool. So, King E, can you answer a few basic questions for me really quick before we jump in?
Yeah, I can. Yeah,
okay. So first, let me just write this down. So you say that you're MAGA. Do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
No.
Okay. Do you think the vaccines that we typically administer to like infants and babies, like the MMR vaccine, do you think that these are generally safe and effective?
No.
Okay. And do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
Do I think that we evolved from non-human ancestors?
Yep.
No.
Okay. And you also think the Earth is flat, yeah?
I mean, does that have any pertain to the conversation?
Well, it is anti-science, but
Yeah, no, I believe the Earth is flat. Yeah.
Okay. Now, so I can give you a definition of anti-science if you'd like, as far as it applies to political movements. If that would help, and then we can talk about it if you want to.
Just give me your definition, my friend.
Okay. So I would say that a political movement is anti-science if it systematically rejects or delegitimizes scientific consensus when it's politically inconvenient. And B, I didn't say A at first, but anyway, and the second thing is that it also systematically undermines the institutions that produce that scientific consensus. So given that definition, I hold the position that MAGA meets those criteria. Do you disagree?
I disagree with your premise A. You said politically inconvenient. No, it's not anything that regards politics. It's just that we MAGA people, we understand that, hey, a lot of things that the Democrats say is straight up lying and straight up, weird.
But we're not talking about what the Democrats say. We're talking about what the scientists say.
Yeah. Again, so whatever the scientists say have nothing to do with politically inconvenience to myself.
You don't think that there are politically inconvenient scientific facts?
No, I don't think that politics is not intertwined politically in science. Well, it actually is, to be honest with you, but...
Exactly. So let me give you an example, a hypothetical, if you will. Perhaps this is not what's really happening, but suppose for a moment that, I don't know, actually, this is a thing that really happened. So back in the 70s and 80s, we were using certain kinds of chemicals. These are called CFCs, that were really damaging. Like, they destroy parts of the ozone in the atmosphere. Now, whether you're a flat earth or not, there is ozone in the atmosphere, and destroying the ozone in the atmosphere is generally not a good thing. And so it was scientific consensus that, in fact, and this was demonstrably provable, that releasing these chemicals into the atmosphere reduced the amount of ozone available to protect us from UV light. And so that was a scientific fact. Now, suppose that you had a politician who was in the pocket of big hairspray, right? These chemicals could be found in hairsprays. So maybe their campaign was paid for by hairspray companies, right? If that politician comes out and says, no, this science is nonsense, would you say that, sorry, let me back up. Would you say that the scientific fact that hairspray is contributing to destroying the ozone layer, would you say that that would be politically inconvenient for this politician who was backed by big hairspray?
I mean, I would think for myself, and I would think that I would wonder how you can isolate that this specific hairspray was damaging the ozone layer, which in turn was damaging the planet, which in turn
this is a hypothetical, right? So suppose
I don't deal with
hypotheticals.
Can we just talk real life?
Well,
can we talk real life, not hypotheticals?
You don't know how to handle
hypotheticals.
Land,
not fairy tale imagination land.
So the inability to handle hypotheticals is indicative of an inability to think critically.
It's not an inability to handle them.
Then do it.
Can we just not talk about reality in real life instead of?
I'm trying to understand your worldview here because I didn't understand what you said. So I offered a hypothetical so that maybe we could understand each other better.
Yeah, I mean, I would just dig a little deeper into that.
So
claim
in the hypothetical,
that the hairspray was.
This is a hypothetical.
If the scientist came out and said, "Hey, this hairspray is damaging the ozone layer," I would then dig a little deeper into that. I'm like, well, how did you figure out that this specific hairspray with this specific chemical is then in turn damaging the ozone layer, which that means that the sun will be hitting us at a more effective...
I'm not asking what you would do. I'm asking if it were the case, scientifically, that this hairspray was damaging the atmosphere in one way or another, and then a politician who was supporting or who was supported by that hairspray company, say, if that politician came out and said that science is fake, would that be a politically motivated move?
100%. That would be politically beneficial towards that president of the United States.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's what I mean by rejecting politically inconvenient science. So there are scientific consensuses that you may disagree with.
That doesn't mean that I'm going to be believing the president of the United States.
I'm not talking about you. My point is that if you have a scientific consensus on the one hand, and you have somebody who's in the pocket of some company that is, I don't know, in some way against the scientific consensus, and then the politician says that the science is nonsense, that would seem like an example of that politician rejecting scientific consensus or because it's politically inconvenient. Right? That would just be a perfect example of that.
I wouldn't say politically inconvenient. I would say individually beneficial for him to go along with his hairspray.
Would accepting the science be politically inconvenient for him if he's being supported by big hairspray?
It would be individually inconvenient, not politically, though.
What? Do you know what politically inconvenient means?
It means doesn't help his cause. Individually, doesn't help himself.
No, what it means is that something is politically inconvenient if it harms his ability to get elected, say, or if it harms his ability to receive donations.
Exactly what I said, Dr. Blitz.
It's not exactly what you said. You said different words.
Well, it's not the exact wordage that you use.
So whether or not you disagree, whether or not you like the phrasing, the point is that it would be...
It's not that I do not like the phrasing. It's like
scientific statements
said that
would harm the person's ability to get elected.
And your definition is
would
right.
harm that person's ability to get donations, political donations.
That's where you scientists come into...
So we agree that in that scenario, the scientific consensus would be harmful for that politician, for their ability to get elected, for their ability to receive scientific fund or political funding, for their ability to push the policies that they want to push. It would make their lives as a politician more difficult. Surely we can agree on that.
I mean, who then is... Okay, yeah, I agree with that statement.
Okay, so that's all I'm saying when I say that a scientific movement is anti-science. When it systematically rejects the scientific consensus, that's politically inconvenient. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying that the politicians will say the other thing because agreeing with the science would harm their political status in one way or another. Okay, that's what I mean.
Yeah, you've said that like 20 times. Yeah, and I agree with you, but that doesn't mean that me, MAGA, who's a supporter and follower of his, and if he were to do this hypothetical, as you say, that doesn't mean that I would 100% be anti-science, I would, it wouldn't be politically inconvenient with me to disagree with the president on that matter. Yeah, well, bro, you're muted. I can't hear you.
God damn it, I was drinking water, my bad. So I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the MAGA movement. Now, you might be a part of the MAGA movement, but you're not a politician, so nothing is politically inconvenient for you, except insofar as, you might have some, you might agree with the politicians, and the politicians disagree with the science because of political inconvenience for them. I'm not talking about you as an individual. I'm talking about the movement.
The movement of MAGA is anti-science. The movement of MAGA.
That's
well,
what,
I mean,
that's what the background says. Yeah.
I get it, but who consists of MAGA? Who is involved?
Well, they're the
in
leaders
MAGA?
and they're the followers. You're one of the followers. The leaders are people like Trump, and Charlie Kirk was an example, but Charlie Kirk is no longer an example. You have a few rather famous senators and Congress people as well. You have the Trump administration would be another set of leaders. And then you have just like the normies. And then you also have people like, like hosts on Fox News, for example. Those kinds of people are the kinds of people who are kind of directing MAGA thought. And then you have the followers like yourself who are kind of like MAGA members, if you will.
No, yeah, I'm definitely a member, but...
So what I'm saying is that the political inconvenience, the rejection of the scientific consensus for political convenience, if the politics that you have is in contrast with the scientific consensus, then you can either A, accept the scientific consensus and recognize that your politics were incorrect, or you can reject the science because you don't want to change your political worldview. And it seems like you're doing the latter.
No, I'm not doing the latter. It's just no, I am not. I'm not following science, or I'm not following a man blindly like that. But I am MAGA, and I am anti-science, though. Anything that scientifically comes out,
why do you think that vaccines are not? Why do you think that vaccines that we give to babies are not safe?
Well, number one, I'm thinking that anything foreign that you inject your body and your cells with at a very early stage of life, like the babies, I don't know. I think it just primes up the body, primes up the cells, primes up everything inside of you with this foreign oil, and I'm just not a fan of it. I didn't get the vaccine. I didn't get the vaccine.
Oil?
Yeah, some sort of oil that
This
the
isn't an
science
oil.
came out and
What?
talked about. Hey, this is what you should take. This is why it's good. I am a proud.
Look, if it was foreign oil, then surely the right wing would be super in favor of seizing it. But it's not oil.
Well, I mean, you can call it whatever you want, but the gist is I'm a proud non-vaxxed person. Did you get the C-19 vaccine by the way?
Yeah, I did.
I'm
doing fine.
Did you get booster shots, or?
I think I got 1 or 2. I don't remember how many I got.
One or two. Wow. Okay. I think they're up to like 9 or 10.
Okay.
Is there a reason why you haven't done that, or?
I wasn't living in the United States at the time.
Okay. But wouldn't you want to keep, your health in check? And
I was fine. But that's neither here nor there. We're not talking about the COVID vaccine. We're talking about the vaccines that are given to infants.
I just want to get a little more specific.
We're talking specifically about the vaccines that we give to infants.
The C-19.
We're talking specifically about the vaccines that we give to infants.
What was the whole thing? Right. Gain of function? Did Fauci not do gain of function, or did he do gain of function?
You really want to get off of the topic of vaccines that we give to infants, don't you?
No, I don't want. We're talking about vaccines in general, and then
right. So
you tied in. So we were talking about science, and you tied in politics, and that's why I also tied in science.
That's the topic. It sounds like you have a script that you really want to use.
C-19 was very political.
It was very political, and we can talk about that and how MAGA rejects the scientific consensus regarding C-19 as well. But we were talking about one thing initially. More specifically, we were talking about the efficacy or the safety of vaccines that are administered to babies, and they have been administered to babies for decades. Do you think, what makes you think that is dangerous?
Well, again, it's my little trust in science, and when you vaccinate...
So it is anti-science.
Well, my mistrust in science leads me to think that, hey, installing 37, 38 different vaccines into a newborn baby, I mean, is that really, I mean, just think common sensely. Is that really like, what are your thoughts on that?
It's very beneficial. People don't die from polio anymore. People don't die from the measles anymore. That's because of vaccines.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of polio, I've heard of measles. I never really looked
People
into
don't get
it,
the mumps
but
anymore.
I don't
They don't
think
get rubella anymore because of vaccines.
Okay. And it's 100% tied to the vaccines that
Yeah.
These deaths. I mean, how could you prove that? Is there any way you could prove that?
Yeah, you can just go look at the people who are so you could go look at the people who are getting measles these days, and they're babies who have not been vaccinated.
Yeah, you got the
Or
data
children
on
who have
that,
not
or are
been.
you just saying that nonchalant?
Yeah, sure.
You got data and science behind that, or science?
Sure, but you don't trust science anyway, so why are you asking for it?
I would look at it with a grain of salt, but I just want to see what they're saying out there.
Sure.
The percentage of people that did not get their vaccine at a baby dying from measles compared
Here
to
you
the
go.
percentage of people who did get the vaccine who didn't get measles.
Here you go. One sec, let me pull it up.
And I'm sure you've seen. Okay, go ahead, man.
Sorry, one sec. Let me just move this over so that you can see it. Measles cases and outbreaks.
Take your time. Take your time.
Why is it? Sorry, the background is being really annoying. So, there have been 31 new outbreaks reported in 2026, and 93% of confirmed cases are outbreak associated. So that's interesting. So those cases are associated with specific outbreaks. Now we want to look at vaccination status. So this is from 2024. Sorry, I thought that this website was, yeah, there we go. We want up here. That's MMR vaccines, so that's not what that's, oh, okay,
Yeah,
so Google, oh, no, here we go. History of measles cases. Measles was officially eliminated from the United States in 2000, meaning there is no measles spreading within the country, and new cases are only found when someone contracts measles abroad and returns to the country. Achieving measles elimination status in the United States was a historic public health achievement. The below figures illustrate how common measles was before vaccination and how vaccine policy enabled elimination. So the vaccine was produced in 1963, that's when it was licensed, and then look what happened. I'm sorry, what happened?
Yeah, no, I can clearly see that it goes down.
Yep.
But I mean, so the vaccine was produced. Why was that next year or whatever it is? Why did it actually go up by a tad?
Well, I mean,
Right
like,
there. So it was developed right there. But then look at the next bar.
This is noise.
Does the next bar go up or does it go down?
Yeah. Do you think that everybody was getting the vaccine a year
does it
after
go
it
up
was
or
licensed? I'm sorry. Do you
hey,
think
Dr.
that
Blitz,
the
Dr. Blitz, it's a pretty simple question. Does it go up or does it go down?
It obviously goes up. What happens the
It
year
goes
after?
up.
What happens the year
It goes
after?
up.
Sorry. What happens the year
It goes
after?
up. It
What
goes
happens
up.
the year after? Oh, he's.
What happens? What happens?
Like
the year
you
after?
you understand that if the vaccine was licensed in 1963, they still have to roll it out and make it standard. So that's going to take some time.
Why it went up though?
Sometimes there's cold years. Sometimes, like, you understand that like the flu cases fluctuate year over year. This was a change of, like, I don't know, like 15%.
I mean, then yeah, I get that, but what a coincidence that the next year
And
it
then what about the year after that?
coincidentally-
What about the year after that?
And then obviously it goes pretty down.
Yeah, and then it goes down again, and then it goes down again.
and
then there's a
know
bad
if I
year.
would
Look, there's a bad year in
100%.
1971. Oh, there's a bad year in 1977. But the general trend is that it sharply falls after the vaccine is introduced. And then they started recommending a second dose when there was an uptick in the late 80s, early 90s, and then it sharply fell again, and it's remained low ever since. Isn't that kind of strange? Is that just a coincidence?
And you're telling me that this vaccine was strictly made for measles?
The measles vaccine?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
Okay. Well, I'm not too, I don't really understand the vaccine.
It's called the measles vaccine.
The MAR vaccine protects against measles, mumps.
MMR is measles, mumps, and rubella. By the way, here's another organization. This is the National Foundation for Infectious Disease. They report that 93% of reported cases occurred among individuals who were unvaccinated or whose vaccination status was unknown. 93%.
No, I get it. Okay, well, you know, the measles vaccine, okay, I get it. I just don't think that you putting it into a baby right when the baby's born.
The measles is most dangerous in young children.
Well, I mean, why couldn't they wait for like 1 or 2 years, you know, to be able to give this baby, I don't know, man.
U.S. vaccine schedule. Let's just go look at exactly when the vaccines are scheduled for what. So the MMR vaccine, measles, mumps, and rubella, isn't given until they're 12 months old. Oh, when you're off the app, I can't hear you, by the way. King E, I can't hear you. Oh, he left. You know, I mean, like, here's the thing. It was obvious that he was anti-science because he's a flat earther, right? Yeah, I think he rage quit. Dude's a flat earther, so, like, of course he's anti-science, but it's still worth shaming them, right? From Jack Fetter with the $5. Ooh, a triple threat. Ruin the country, MAGA, while endangering all of us, anti-vaxxer, and annoying the crap out of all of us simultaneously. Flurf, indeed. Indeed, right? Quite. From Simeon Urchin with the $2. Hypothetical, just gonna leave this here. Yeah, he doesn't know a lot of words. From Carl Grimes with the $2. This is why MAGA is so dangerous. Look, not all MAGA are flat earthers, but all flat earthers are MAGA. It's not literally all, but it's basically all. Or they're right-wing, or they're like, you know, even more right-wing than MAGA. From Mr. Pacho with the $20. After no Flurf stream this week, I was excited when we got one of the MAGA stream, but at this point, I've never done a stronger 180 in my life. You couldn't make this guy's brain smoother with a 10,000 grit sandpaper. True, it's polished. From Simeon Urchin with the $2. I don't know, man. Yeah, we regret that. Yeah, he doesn't know a lot. I've talked with Kingy a few times. He usually runs away before he actually finishes a conversation, but so he hasn't ended up on the YouTube channel because he's usually gone within 5 or 6 minutes, but he stayed for 20 minutes this time, so he'll end up on the YouTube channel this time. All right, let's check out the Discord. Ed, how's it going? All right, let's check out the... Ed, you were very quiet. And you should also turn off the live stream on your end, so that way then you can just hear me. Can you hear me all right, Ed?
Oh yeah, I'm all right.
Okay, cool. Ed, so the background says MAGA is anti-science. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions before we jump in?
Yeah, sure. Oh, actually, I'm not MAGA or anything. I just wanted to ask you something, like, really.
Sure.
It was just about the approach, really. Because I mean, I myself study physics and stuff, so I was just thinking that maybe I mean, I get that, you know, shaming people, it does. I mean, it can feel right given that they're anti-science, but I feel like maybe trying to find first a common ground for effective communication, maybe there will be a chance to bring them to light.
Well, that's why I define my terms very specifically. So then we can have common ground about what words mean. But look, it does say no tone police, so I am going to have to let you go, Ed, because what you're doing is tone policing. But thank you for being here. You know, I let him ask a question because there's no guests in the guest box, which means all of the MAGA must be afraid. They're fearful for their MAGA political party or whatever. Maybe they actually agree that MAGA is anti-science. From Matt Lloyd with the £5. It's because of idiots like this that these diseases are making a small comeback. It's so dangerous. Love your stuff. Great to be here as usual. Yeah, this is actually a problem. So one of the things that's nice about vaccines is that you can come to you can like eliminate diseases within a country. Like if the vaccines are sufficiently prevalent for a sufficiently long amount of time, you can eliminate, like the measles was eliminated from the United States, right? The trouble is people then forget how bad these diseases were. And so you end up with people who are like, we don't need these vaccines, right? And that means that those diseases can be reintroduced into society, and now you have people who are not protected because, you know, the people who can't take the vaccines for whatever reason, for you know, immunological reasons or whatever, they can get infected a lot more easily. And now you have people who are willfully not getting the vaccines, who are allowing the disease to spread to those people who are at risk. So it's just real bad. Like, this is harming, like, if you choose to not get your kid vaccinated, you're not just harming your kid, you're harming everybody. Like, it's really a bummer. But yeah, I mean, like, people today didn't know somebody who had polio, for example. Maybe we should stop creating this disease. The measles is not something we created, dumbass. Like, what? MAGA is science. Women are biological women. Men are men, but y'all get mad. So remind me again, how do we don't believe in science? Well, Pack of Franks, if you want to join the live stream, we can talk about it. It seems like you think that science is just about your genitals, which, like, I would understand because that's probably what you were thinking about in science class, but that's not all science is. All right, let's bring up Marcus. Marcus, how's it going?
It's going good.
Glad to hear it, Marcus. Marcus, are you MAGA?
Kind of, and no.
Are you a Trump supporter?
Well, yeah, I have to. You know, he's the only option, so.
I don't know what you mean he's the only option.
Like, he was the best candidate, so.
Okay. Would you call yourself a conservative?
Yeah, far right.
Okay, cool, yeah. So, and by cool, I mean the opposite of cool. Just a few quick questions before we get started. Marcus, first, how old are you?
I'm 19.
Okay, what year were you born?
February 16th, 2007.
Okay, cool. Do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
No.
Okay. Do you think that the vaccines that we typically administer to children are generally safe and effective?
No.
Okay. And do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
Absolutely not.
Okay, cool. Now, do you want me to explain what I mean by anti-science?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I mean by anti-science for a political movement is something like the political movement systematically rejects scientific consensus or delegitimizes that scientific consensus when it's politically inconvenient. And second, the political movement systematically seeks to undermine the procedures and the institutions that generate that politically inconvenient science. Does that check out with you? Do you understand the definition that I'm using?
Yeah, I have a concept of it.
Okay, so look, my contention is that MAGA meets that definition in stars and stripes. They do it across several different fields. Those fields being politically inconvenient for them, they are seeking to undermine them. In fact, not only are they seeking to undermine those things that are politically inconvenient, but they're seeking to undermine the scientific institutions of the United States, period. Like, just across the board. If you want, I can give you examples of this, but this seems pretty obvious. So do you have a particular point of contention?
I would like an example of that, but also I just want to say that, like, a lot of the science that you guys claim is real, right? It goes against a lot of, like, what MAGAs believe, right? Most
Yep.
MAGAs are Christian, right? And they have
most Americans are Christian, but sure.
Yeah, but you know, and a lot of us have very set points, you know, because of our Christianity. So I mean, we can't really turn our religion.
So who did you vote for?
Well, I wasn't old enough at the time to vote for.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, I would have voted for Trump though.
Okay, yeah. So look, I agree that much of the science disagrees with what MAGA people believe. That's what I mean by MAGA is anti-science.
Can you give me an example of being anti-science?
Yeah. Do you know what the National Science Foundation is?
Not too familiar.
Okay, so the National Science Foundation it's a 3-letter agency that was passed into law a law was passed to form the 3-letter agency in the 1950s. Its goal is basically just to fund science in the United States to, keep the United States one step ahead of everybody else as far as scientific investigation is concerned, because that's useful. Now, the National Science Foundation funds about 1/4 of all non-medical science in the United States. So it's aside from the National Institute for Health, it is the largest single institution funder of science in the United States. So 1/4 is quite a lot. Now, the Trump campaign, or the Trump administration, repeatedly, both in 2025 and in 2026, has sought to cut the budget of the National Science Foundation in half. Now, most of the budget, something like 98% of the budget of the National Science Foundation, goes directly to scientists to fund scientific research. So by cutting the scientific budget in half, at least by trying to cut the scientific budget in half, he has been trying to cut our ability to fund science by more than 10%. More than 10% for the entire country. He's wanted to reduce our scientific output that way. So, I don't know. That seems pretty anti-science to me. Seems like he's interested in undermining the institutions that produce the scientific achievements that we have.
But what if he's like cutting funding because, well, not cutting, but decreasing funding because we could be using that money to do a lot of other stuff besides science?
Well,
don't you think?
That would be an interesting claim if it weren't the case that this was not just the single instance, but this was a general trend. So not only has he proposed cutting the National Science Foundation by slightly more than 50%, he also fired the entire National Science Board, which is it's a group of 24 people that are like top scientists in their fields that are appointed by the president that make decisions about how the science should be funded, how the money should be distributed, that's given to the National Science Foundation. And they're like an independent scientific board that makes these evaluations. So it's not just about funding. Why would he fire the entire board?
Well, I don't agree with that.
Okay. What about the time when his appointee at NASA tried to shut down a satellite that was already in orbit? It was already working. It wasn't something that had to be built. Simply because that satellite, one of the things that it does is it monitors CO2 across the globe. That's kind of politically inconvenient, don't you think? That it would monitor the levels of CO2 in the atmosphere?
Yeah.
Why would they shut it down? It's already in space.
Well, I don't really know because, I'm not President Trump. So
well, fortunately, we do know. We do know because they told us.
Do you also believe like the moon landing was real, or
do you not?
Me personally, I think it was fake, but.
So by the way, here's a news article from about a year ago now. This is about the satellite that I was talking about, because we actually do know why this was cut. They told us why it was cut. Let me move this up. It was cut because it did not align with the president's agenda and budget priorities. So it was the satellite already existed, so the budget was basically the required budget was basically zero. So all we're left with is it didn't align with the president's agenda. That means that he did it for political reasons. And what's his agenda? Why would he cut the orbital carbon observatory? What part of his agenda? Oh, well, he doesn't think climate change is real, despite all of the scientific evidence. So this seems like a great example of him rejecting scientific consensus and undermining our ability to produce that scientific research by cutting things that would fund or that would produce that scientific research. Like, it just seems like he's doing the thing that is anti-science.
I mean, I have a question. Is being anti-science necessarily wrong, or?
I'm not making that claim. I think that most Americans would think that it's not a good idea, though. You don't want America to be to fall behind China, do you?
I mean, we're technically already behind them, but
Well, prior to 2025, we weren't behind them as far as science was concerned.
well, I agree, but no, they're a lot
Now we're
smarter
falling
than us.
behind. So, do you think that's a good thing? I thought we were trying to make America great again.
You know, there's a lot of stuff that goes into trying to make America great again. You know, obviously, I don't think firing a whole group of people is necessarily the brightest thing to do, but we have a lot of stuff that we have to worry
Is
about.
Trump a dummy?
No, he's not a dummy. He just knows
Then
that
why
we have
did he
to.
do it?
I feel like he's trying to prioritize other stuff, like
Why would
ICE enforcement.
so why would he like firing these people? Doesn't help prioritize anything, because by law 24 new people have to be appointed. So
Well, it
that's
does,
going to cost
because
more money. It's going to take more time. It's going to waste more effort, waste more funds for people who have to go out and send emails and contact these people and try to figure out who to appoint. This is going to cost more money than just letting them stay at their jobs like they were supposed to, as required by law.
I agree. I don't personally think.
So is he
it's,
dumb, or did he do it because he was politically motivated?
I mean, that's a good question. I really don't have an answer for that one at all.
It's a little concerning, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, because he's trying to appeal to the 60-year-old boomers who are about to die soon, because they hold a big portion of the vote. So, and most of them are anti-science.
Yep.
Um,
So it sounds like we're in agreement that MAGA is anti-science.
Most MAGAs, I don't think I'm per se anti-science.
I
or
mean,
anything.
I hate to be that guy, but you told me that you don't think climate change is caused by humans. You told me that you don't think vaccines are safe and effective, and you don't think that evolution is real. Those are all scientific consensus, my guy. You're doing the anti-science right now.
I don't think vaccines are that important, but I think we do play a big factor to climate change, especially when we're cutting down trees and leaving a lot of waste in the oceans and stuff. I think we actually do,
But you said no earlier.
Yeah, I was gonna say kind of, but
Okay, I'll put unsure instead. You also think that humans didn't evolve?
I just don't believe that we evolved from fishes into. I don't believe in that. I think it was fake.
Right, but you recognize that that's scientific consensus, right? The scientific consensus is that we did in fact evolve.
From what though? Do you
from
believe
from non-human ancestors?
Are you the one of the people that think that we evolved from monkeys?
Well, we are a kind of monkey. If a monkey category includes the primates, we're primates more specifically.
Well, if that's the case, why don't monkeys evolve? They just sit in their cage.
Monkeys do evolve.
They turn to humans, or
that's not what evolution doesn't mean that monkeys always turn into humans.
Well, I mean, there's millions of monkeys out there, and yet they're not evolving. So
why do you think that they're not evolving?
I don't know. I mean, you seem like the big science guy, so that's what I'm asking you.
So, of the monkeys that exist, surely there are evolutionary changes, but evolution is slow, so it's they're not going to be super obvious.
So I mean, we kind of agree on I think two of the topics here. So, and I think you also talked about the us going to space was real, but there's a lot of evidence that proves that was fake too.
You think that space is not real?
No, us going to space was fake. We didn't go on the moon.
Okay, so you understand that the scientific consensus is that we did indeed go to the moon? So you're just
but
doing
we
the anti-science thing again? Well, that's the scientific consensus is that we did.
But why did a guy who claimed he went up to space, why didn't he put his hand on the Bible when he was asked if he landed on? Yeah, he's a Christian.
Do you want me to find you someone who actually did do that? Because I can find you somebody who did do that.
Is he a Christian though?
Probably. 1 sec, let me pull up the right, because I can never remember the name of the guy. I think it's Edgar Mitchell. Yeah, so Alan Bean. Let me pull it up. Alan Bean, Eugene Cernan, and Edgar Mitchell all swore on the Bible that they landed on the moon. So.
Well, why didn't the main guy do it?
What do you mean the main guy? There were 12 people who walked on the moon.
That claimed to.
Yeah, and at least 3 of them have sworn on a Bible that it happened, that they did it. So, but we don't even need to look at testimony. We have scientific evidence that we landed on the moon.
Like, I just have a question, right?
Like, that's the scientific consensus. So you're doing the anti-science thing again. Go ahead.
I just have questions. The big contention for me about, like, the moon landing being fake was like the flag. You know how there was like.
You have questions. Have you looked into the answers?
No, that's what I'm asking you. You're a science
So
guy.
if you have questions, why don't you just look into the answers yourself? Google is free.
I don't know how. Google's not 100% sometimes. Sometimes you have to ask people.
Okay, if I give you an answer, will you believe me?
You can open my mind to the idea, not fully, like.
It seems like this is something that you need to, like, oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, there are also things called libraries. You could go to a library too. You could go look in a book. Hell, you can see satellites yourself with your own eyes. You can see the International Space Station with your own eyes.
And also, like, also have another question, like, if we so-called landed on the moon, like, during the Apollo mission, right? Why was there, like, no stars in the space and stuff like that?
You have a lot of questions. Why not look into the answers to those questions?
You're the science guy, right? You should have these answers, right?
I know the answers. I'm not here to teach you. This is a debate platform, and you're just demonstrating that MAGA is indeed anti-science. It sounds like you're allergic to looking things up and learning for yourself.
Well, how can I trust these sources? Like, you know what I'm saying? Most of these sources are, like, Democrat funded, so of course, like, it's gonna make.
NASA is Democrat funded?
Well,
the head of NASA
NASA
was appointed by Donald Trump, so just go look on NASA's website.
I got you.
It seems like you just don't believe what the science says. You just believe what the conspiracy theories you see on TikTok say.
But what is the science that we went up to space? We have no proof.
Did you just loop?
No,
because we've been talking about this whole time. We have plenty. You can see the International Space Station with your own eyes. If that's not proof, I don't know what is.
Well, hey, those are my beliefs,
Why do you have beliefs that can be why do you have beliefs that can be proven wrong just by looking at the sky?
Well, explain to me, like, what I said was wrong exactly, because I said
that we haven't been to space.
Well, we haven't, right? And
yeah, we have. You can prove it just by looking at the International Space Station with your eyeballs. You can see it. You can just go outside and see it.
Well, where I'm at, it's like 10 o'clock in the afternoon, so.
Okay, yeah, you'll have to do it at night. I'm sorry. You'll have to wait 10 hours. I mean, it's, you should go online and, figure out when the next time you'll be able to see the International Space Station is, because it's not like overhead every night. It's overhead some nights, depending on the night.
Oh, what is this, like some Star Wars shit or what?
What?
Like, it's all. Never mind.
Just type into Google When can I see the International Space Station next in whatever city you're in? It'll tell you when, and then go outside and look.
Well, all right. Well, just have a nice day. I gotta get back to class.
Oh my, you said you're 19.
Yeah, college.
Oh, okay. Okay, checks out. All right, thanks for being here, Marcus.
All right.
Take care. At least he's in college. Hopefully he stays in school. Let me drink some water, and then I will read some super chats, and then we'll bring up our next guest. All right, we have some super chats to read. But for some reason they're duplicating, which I don't understand. From Professional with the $5, dude thinks Pokemon was an evolution documentary. They all do. That's like the general view. From Calfunds with the $10, it always gets me that these people assume becoming human is the ideal evolutionary end for every monkey. It seems as though monkeys are just fine being monkeys for now. Love your stuff, doctor. Well, yeah, they think that it is Pokemon. Like the other guy said, they think that it's Pokemon. They think that like everything will eventually end up in humans if you just wait long enough. And that, you know, if evolution is true, monkeys should give birth to people. But that's not the claim. And I don't know how you pass high school without knowing that. From Matt Lloyd with the £10, it seems even worse over there, but this anti-intellectualism has started to take root in the UK as well. People are, and I quote, sick of hearing from the experts. P.S. I just joined the Discord. Yay. Well, yeah, you should join the Discord, and absolutely this is the case that the anti-intellectualism is spreading. I mean, the US has had a close relationship culturally with the UK for a long time, and so like it's not surprising that it's spreading into the UK, but it's also spreading in mainland Europe. It's spreading in, you know, the other parts of the English-speaking world, right? Australia, New Zealand. And it won't be long before it spreads to, you know, the rest of the world, because the rest of the world is quite large compared to Europe and the English-speaking world. So, yeah, I mean, this is already a thing that's happening. And from Atheist in a Foxhole with the $5, how is this all a Democrat conspiracy? They run every branch of government. Also, good luck, ladies. I can see why there are so many incels. Yeah, there are a lot of incels, unfortunately. Hopefully, he's in college, so hopefully his mind will be opened. Tail delete update from Monkey Wen. Gender and sex biology called. Oh, if you want to come up, you can. Whoever that guy is. Zansapilosi, you can join the Discord. The link is there. You can join it. We can talk about what whether the right is anti-science. That's available. It's an option. But you won't, because you're a coward. I don't use terrorist apps. Okay, then I guess you just can't promote your values. Dr. Blitz is surely a shiny human. That's cute. I appreciate that. If we came from dirt, why is there still dirt, Blitz? Good point. You got me. All right, because values only exist on Discord. No, but if you're not going to join to, you know, debate the values that you think you value, then it's clear that you're just not ready to defend them, right? You're just not well fit. You just don't have the ability. You don't have the rhetorical skill or the knowledge base to defend the views that you hold. Which, you know, it makes sense. Like, you know, MAGA types are generally like incapable of having intellectual critical conversations. Such is the nature of things. What's your live schedule? Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to noon, approximately. Pacific, whatever Arizona time is. Is it Pacific Daylight Time or Pacific Standard Time? One of those two. It's 10:45 where I am right now. And from Tim Davidson with the $5, as a former member of the Illuminati, we didn't do Trump. That was totally Hydra. Yeah, it was Hydra. That's a good point. channel some attitude and destroy them? Well, I would, but they're too cowardly to join the Discord server and, you know, go to the link. It's mountain time. It's only mountain time when, like, after daylight savings has shifted in the fall. I'm currently on Pacific time. Dummy. This is the person that I'm making fun of, by the way, Nancy Pelosi. What's Hydra? Oh, it's a meme. Don't worry about it. Come to Mojave County and debate in person. You want me to drive to wherever the fuck you are and debate you in person, rather than just making fun of you here, when you have the opportunity to join here? Let's talk to Mark Musalati. Mark Musalati, how's it going?
Hi, Dr. Blitz. First and foremost, I'm not American. I just came up to say I'm so glad you are well. You look healthy. Last time I checked, you had a cancer scare. And
Yep.
I'm from Zimbabwe, so you have a fan here.
Well, I appreciate that, Mark, but this is a debate space, so I'm gonna let you go. But thank you for being here. Let's bring up User. This person's name is just User. User, how's it going?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. User, it doesn't sound like you're American. Why are you interested in supporting MAGA?
I'm just interested in the topic. It says join to learn. Oh wait, no, it doesn't. Oh,
Does not say
I'll
join
wait
to learn.
Sorry, yeah, I misread it. I wanted to learn about why you think it's MAGA's anti-science.
Well,
and why
if you
can't I
stick
be interested
around,
in American politics?
if you stick around, you'll find out. Let's bring up Vanilla Perfume. Vanilla Perfume. Vanilla Perfume, how's it going?
Hi.
Vanilla, how old are you? Yep, that was a child, I agree. Very young. There are some people who have young voices, but that wasn't one of them. That was a fetus. From Tim Davidson with the $5. For those just tempting to call it the Illuminati, no, we are the Illuminati. If you know, you know, and if you don't, we don't want you to. Exactly. All right, we got a Cash App from Grimlock. Let's see what we got. We got oh, and we got a $25 Cash App from L'Oreal, which is very much appreciated, and a $10 Cash App from Grimlock for H2O. Also, Phoenix does not partake it in daylight savings times. I know. That's why I'm always so confused about which time zone I'm in. But thank you so much, Grimlock, as always. And from, okay, I already read that one. Yeah, there's just like a little bug with my software that's showing me the things. Same here where I am. Brickthor, correct. Well, look, y'all, it seems like the MAGA is too afraid to join the live stream, which means that we don't have any guests that want to join. Now, if you are not MAGA, please don't join. If you are MAGA and you want to defend the position that MAGA is not anti-science, feel free to hop in the guest box. But until then, I'm just going to assume that you've all admitted defeat. Vanilla, you are a youth. A ute. I guess we did win. I guess we won. I'm not talking to John Stone again. Known racist, known transphobe John Stone. Despite how good free content he is, not talking to John Stone. I have principles. Probably can't figure it out. That could be it. It could very well be the case that MAGA's having a hard time figuring out how to join. So we've defeated Flat Earth. We've defeated MAGA. I guess the next topic to defeat is creationism. That's like the next thing. But it just doesn't seem like we are... we could just clown on him while he's on mute, but he could unmute himself. That's the issue. Fewer and fewer Christians are willing to debate. It just seems like people are losing the cojones. And by the way, everybody can have cojones. Cojones is It's a spiritual cojones, if you will. Losing the cojones to engage in a little debate. Yeah, okay, let's fight world hunger next. Good point, good point. All right, let us... There's a lot of MAGA in YouTube, but none of them seem to know how to join the Discord server, so... All right, well, let us transition. That'll piss off the transphobes. Transition over to creationism. We can change topics. There's nothing wrong with changing topics here and there. Who's asking the questions? What questions? MAGA's dead. We've defeated them. It is easier to sit behind a keyboard and troll. That's true. Yeah, but Discord is a terrorist app, right? Discord, famously a terrorist app. Definitely not for just gamers. You are pure condescension. Am I? Am I pure condescension? I can be quite kind if you're like a normal person. Hannah3, how's it going?
Hey, Dr. Blitz. What's up, twin? Big fan.
Glad to hear it.
Okay.
Hannah, how old do you think the Earth is?
You won't hate me. Okay. I just think that a mind created the universe, to be real. I don't know if that counts as creationism, though.
Kind of does. Sort of, kind of. Do you think that it was like directed, or do you think it was just kind of like created and then it like went off and did its own thing?
I think
one is
that
creationism,
God
the other is
created
not.
the universe out of pre-existing materials.
Oh, okay. So then you don't think that God created the universe, you just think that God rearranged the universe?
Yeah, I don't think he's I don't think he's all-powerful in a way that he can, like, remove all the suffering in the world.
That seems unrelated to what I asked.
Like, I think, like, God is, like, limited. I think the concept is, like, finite theism.
Okay. But look, so if the position is that God created the universe, why would what would be the reason for thinking that God created the universe as opposed to the universe forming via a natural process if there was already stuff there?
I think he just cares about, like, free will.
Well, no, what's the reason for thinking that there is a God that created the universe?
The
if
reason...
it's the case that the stuff was like does it offer any explanatory power?
Maybe it would explain if, like, dualism was true.
Why do you need dualism? Why do you need God if dualism is true?
Because it seems like it would better account for, like consciousness, like the reason why consciousness developed it in the way that it did.
Well, it depends on what kind of dualism, I guess, but it seems like that you could have dualism. You could have some kind of
you can have dualism
conscious mentality without a God existing, right? It doesn't seem like it actually explains. Like the question of why consciousness exists, if you're a dualist, for example. Well, you can either be an atheist dualist, in which, you know, you have the question of why do we have consciousness, or you can be a theist dualist, then you can be like, okay, well, why does God have consciousness? In both cases, it seems like that it doesn't resolve the problem.
What is the problem?
Why does God have consciousness?
Why does God have consciousness?
Yeah.
What do you mean by, like, consciousness? Do you just mean, like, a volitional
mental
agent?
stuff.
Like,
mental stuff.
Mental stuff? Like, just
if you're a dualist. I'm not a dualist for what it's worth, but if you are a dualist, like, why would, even if we grant dualism, why would you, like, what, the problem that you're proposing is, like, suppose dualism is true, well then God better explains why we have consciousness, which, okay, maybe fine, but God does not better explain why God has consciousness. It just pushes the buck back.
It kind of just, like, there's another question to be asked.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're asking why God may be conscious?
Yeah.
Okay,
like the question, so the eternal question for, you know, philosophy of mind is, you know, why does consciousness exist? Like, where does it come from? What is it? What is it? All these questions. It's a hard problem. And if you're a dualist, you can kind of resolve that and be like, well, consciousness is just the stuff, a kind of stuff that already exists. Like there is like a world.
Like science can't observe it.
Yeah. It's like a non-physical consciousness, and it just exists. Now the non-theist dualist now has to say, okay, well, why is it that, like, brains are the kinds of things that get conscious, or maybe they think that everything has consciousness, or whatever it is. And so the theist will be like, well, brains have conscious because there's this God thing, and the God thing puts the consciousness in the brains. Okay, fine, but, like, the only reason why the non-theist has to account for why brains have consciousness is because the claim is that those are the things that fundamentally get consciousness. They don't get it from something else. But if you're making the claim that there is a God that has consciousness, then the God thing is the thing that's fundamentally conscious, and now you need to explain why it has consciousness.
That makes sense, because like persons, like even if they're conscious, it just seems like there needs to still be an answer as to why God's conscious. Yeah, I don't have that answer for you right now, but could I ask you another question?
Sure.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask about
Sure.
Multiverse. What do you think of it?
I think it's something to be considered seriously.
Considered?
Yeah.
Would you say it's because of the way, like, consciousness, or?
No, I just think that, like, so there are a lot of scientific models, a lot of models, cosmological models, that if you take them to their logical conclusion, imply the existence of a multiverse. And so, like, we shouldn't discount those scientific models just because they imply something that we haven't observed. We should consider whether or not it's plausible that, you know, a multiverse can happen in whatever way that those models suggest that they can happen. And then we should look to see if there's evidence for those models in the world around us. And if there is, then that means that the multiverse has good evidence for it. If there's not, then that means that the multiverse doesn't have good evidence for it. I just think it's something that we shouldn't dismiss out of hand.
Okay. So you don't think there's like a reason to automatically say like nah?
Yeah, I think that, like, it's a possibility. I think that, you know, depending on what your preferred models are, I will either endorse it or you won't.
Okay, what do you think of modal realism then?
I think that modal realism. So, what modal scope are we talking? Are we talking physical modal scope, or like logical modal scope, or metaphysical modal scope, or?
Would you mind explaining the difference for me?
So, the physical modal scope is asking, like, when we talk about possibility in the physical modal scope, it's like what's physically possible. If we're talking about what's logically possible, then that's the logical modal scope.
That's the logical. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess how would modal realism apply? Are those just the three branches that are like
generally? Those are like the different ways that you can talk about modal realism. You could say that, like, all physically possible things are real, and that would be like a physical modal realism. You could talk about all logically possible things are real, and that would be a logical modal realism, which that's much broader. I think that logical modal realism is probably not. I don't believe it. Now, I don't perhaps have a reason to disbelieve it, but I don't think that there's good reason to believe it at all.
Is the one that you just said, is that the one that says like possible worlds literally exist?
No, so well, yes, logically possible worlds are the ones that physically exist, or that actually exist. I shouldn't say physically, because they might not be physical at all.
Yeah. What do you think
realism isn't directly related to the multiverse idea. They're kind of like they're similar, but they're not quite the same. But Hannah, we are pretty far off topic.
My bad, it's fine. My bad.
So I'm gonna let you go.
Peace out.
Have a good one. All right, let's talk to Davi Coutinho.
Hello?
Davi Coutinho, how's it going?
Oh, good.
Davi, do you think that the world was created?
I mean, yes, at some point.
No, just to be clear, when I say created, what I mean is that there was intention behind its formation.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think that.
Okay, well then, why'd you come up?
Well, I want to ask you a question to see if you know the answer, because I was very confused. So one time I was at a webinar, people were talking about dating fossils and the age of the Earth. And at one point, they talk about something like it was already resolved, but nobody explained it. It was some rocks are dated based on the fossils that are around the rocks, and some fossils are also dated based on the rocks that are around it.
Yeah,
right?
So like basically so what you can do is you can do relative age, which is just saying like, look, this fossil is older than that fossil because this fossil is lower in the the rock layers than that fossil. But if you want absolute age, at some point you need to connect back to some particular number to figure out the age. And so like what you can do is there are some rocks that you don't need to age based off of the fossils. You can age them based off of like direct numerical results that you get from, say, uranium lead dating or potassium argon dating or these kinds of radiometric dating. And then once you know how old the rock is, then you can figure out how old the how old such and such a fossil is. And if you go and you find that same fossil somewhere else, then you can know how old that rock is that you found the fossil in, because you know that creature lived XYZ many years ago.
Oh, okay.
So they can inform on each other, but if you actually want an age, you do have to leave the loop at some point, which is what happens, which is what's actually done. But I'm gonna let you go, Davi.
Okay, thank you.
Let's talk to David Gorobchuk. By the way, today, right now is not Ask a Physicist Day, despite plenty of people asking a physicist. David Gorobchuk, how's it going?
Good. Can you hear me?
I can. David, do you believe that the Earth was, or that the world was created?
I do, but I actually wanted to talk to you about something else. But like, I want to talk to you about, like, I want to debate on like if there's or isn't a God, or discuss.
I mean, that's not quite the topic, but we might get there.
Not the topic, but I feel like you like there's a topic a while ago, and I wanted to come up.
Yep, but that's not the topic today.
Okay, I'm not gonna talk about that today, so should probably drop me then.
Okay. Somebody says that the Discord link is expired. It shouldn't be. Somebody was using it earlier, so it shouldn't be expired. But if you click on it, actually, let me just, I'll just ask my mods. But yeah, somebody else joined the Discord link earlier today, so I don't, yeah, it's an external browser thing. Sometimes browsers are annoying, and they don't always work, but if you type it in, it should work. The universe was 100% created, and it was created by God. Well, then you should have no trouble. Natalie, did you click on a link, or did you type the link in? Because if you type the link in, it should work. People are having trouble today. Is it impossible that consciousness is fundamental? I don't know if that's impossible in some sort of logical sense. I can send the link. Yeah, okay, that works. Well, it looks like that we don't have any guests here either. I don't know why we're having trouble getting guests today. But such is the nature of things, I guess. Yeah. Make sure to, since we're not getting any guests, let's
Man, Apocalypse.
Jim, why are you sending this to me? Since we're not getting guests, make sure to share this out with people that you know, people that might be interested in talking about this topic, because then they might be able to join and we can have a conversation. But apparently, yeah, I've defeated all of the opposition. Apparently, there are just no more creationists. Or it's just a Thursday. Have I read on paleomagnetism? I know a little bit about it. I'm probably not as much as a geologist. Let's talk to X-Yaw. X-Yaw, how's it going?
I'm doing all right. Hey, I just wanted to let you know that there's a ministry growing in America called the ICR.org or whatever. That's their website.
Why are you telling me this?
You could call them.
What?
And debate them.
I'm not just going to call a random number if they're not consenting to the conversation.
Well, I guess you're right. Oh, well. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, let's talk to Aerobliss. Okay, Aerobliss didn't connect. Let's talk to Cheeks Sniffer. What a name. What a name. Cheek Sniffer, how's it going?
Yeah, you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Cheek Sniffer, do you think that the world was created?
Yes, I think so. But
okay, and
can I ask you the same question?
Yeah, sure. I don't think the world was created. And just to be clear, by created, what I mean is that it wasn't formed, or when I say created, what I mean is formed intentionally. Right?
Right.
So I don't think that there's any intention behind the formation of the Earth or the formation of the universe.
So you think it's just random and...
Well, random, the opposite of intention is not random. What I think is that there was a natural process that gave rise to these things that we see around us.
Okay, cool. So is it that I mean, I've been watching you for a little while. Are you an atheist by chance?
I am, but honestly, I'm more interested in how you come to the conclusion that there was intention behind the world being created. Like, how old do you think the world is, for example?
Well, you know, what being thrown around is be like billions of years.
Okay, and do you think that that's true?
Yeah. I think it's stands to reason. It have very strong scientific evidence. Yeah.
So, what makes you think that it was created then?
Well, if I want to make a car, I mean, the car wouldn't just spawn out of existence, right? Somebody have to make it have intention.
Not
Me and
necessarily.
you to be here, somebody else. Huh?
Not necessarily, right? There are natural processes that can form things.
I mean, yeah, but the point I'm trying to draw is something have to come from something now.
Sure, and that can be a natural process.
Right, but where the natural process come from?
For the formation of the Earth, it was gravitational collapse in a protoplanetary disk.
All right, and we can keep going back and back
And
until
eventually,
we end up.
I won't know the answer. Does that mean that there isn't a natural process?
No, but usually people who against the creationism say things like the Big Bang. Do you believe in the Big Bang?
Yeah, but I don't know what caused the Big Bang.
All right, well, I think that's just the disconnect there. I think it's more logical to say that God created the Big Bang versus the Big Bang just kind of appear. I think that's more logical.
But that's not my position. My position is not the Big Bang just kind of appeared. I just said I don't know what caused it.
So you don't think it's more logical to say that a higher power created it? You don't think that's more logical?
How is it more logical to propose that it was magic that caused it rather than just saying I don't know?
All right, I guess we could do this whole day. So,
I mean, like, at least in my view, there's only one kind of process, and that process is natural stuff. But in your view, it seems like there's natural stuff everywhere, except at the very beginning, and then there's there's a non-natural explanation.
Well, no, I don't believe that that the quote-unquote non-natural ends there. Like, for example,
right, but why should the non-natural end there, or why should the natural stuff end there, and we should instead invoke the supernatural?
Sorry, I missed the premise of your question.
Yeah, so in the world around us, everything that we see, we can talk about it having a natural cause, right?
Right.
Like even human intervention. Humans are like biological organisms. There's like natural processes that happen, right?
Right.
And so, like, even when a human builds a skyscraper, that's still like obeying laws of physics. It's still a natural process.
Yeah.
And so
right.
For everything in the world, it looks like all of the formation of stuff from other stuff always happens via naturally. And yet, when we get back to the Big Bang,
all of a sudden, okay.
All of a sudden, now there's a supernatural explanation.
Okay,
so
I get your position. Your position. Oh yeah, by the way, people who having trouble following, I'm from Trinidad.
It's fine. I can understand you just fine.
Of English.
I can understand you just fine. Don't worry about them.
Well, all right, yeah. So, is it that you don't believe in the supernatural, like, at all, like, not even a little bit?
Well, I think absent, it's a little bit of a tricky question, right? Because on the one hand, my position is that, like, if there's a thing in the world, then we should be able to explain it,
right?
Like, as part of the world that we occupy, part of reality. And so, like, It seems that there's, if by supernatural you mean those kinds of things in the world that are fundamentally not explainable via some kind of, science or some kind of observational science or empirical science, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that's a little bit confusing to me, because it seems like if there is some real feature of the world, then you should be able to study it using, like, the scientific process. And so if all you mean by supernatural is just the kinds of things that cannot be studied using the scientific process, then yeah, I think that there's probably no reason to think that there's anything supernatural.
All right. Okay,
but
cool.
If you mean something else, then I might have a different opinion.
All right, cool. So I just want to give an example, right? The thing is, it's difficult to argue religion with logic, it's very difficult as an uphill battle. But what you think about like people like talking in tongues? If you ever heard it.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't heard it. I haven't like experienced it personally, but yeah, I've heard of it.
You believe that's supernatural or that's a very explainable scientific thing?
I think that that's the kind of thing that I would love to have a scientific explanation for. I don't know if it's been studied scientifically, but honestly, of what I've heard about it, it sounds super made up.
Made up, wow.
Like I know that there are like videos of this. It just sounds like the person is like delusional or faking.
All right. I mean, if you don't have any like friends or family members or anything who have the ability to speak in tongues, it will be a little difficult to convince you.
But like, what's supernatural about speaking in tongues?
Well, for starters, people who speak in tongues, only some people could interpret it.
Well, how do you know that they're interpreting it? How do you know they're not just making up what the other person's saying?
My uncle speaks in tongues, and he can interpret it. However, on the contrary, my grandmother, which would be his mother, she can't speak in tongues, but she doesn't understand what she's saying.
So
I have no reason to believe they're lying to me.
So your uncle, look, so if your uncle is trying to communicate something, and he speaks in tongues, and then he explains what he's saying, couldn't that just be him explaining the gibberish that he is saying, that he was trying to say, but he was speaking in tongues for some reason? Like, it doesn't seem like there has to be anything supernatural involved here.
You see, again, if you don't have any first-hand experiences, it sounds like BS, quite frankly. So I guess it's something you have to experience in person, but
perhaps
he could like demonstrate, and it's not like something, it's not like he could just start talking in tongues. Him or my grandmother or anybody.
Anybody can just say gibberish.
How many languages you know?
I know exactly one.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I'm a
if
dumb
it is somebody
American, so
trying to speak another,
go ahead.
If somebody trying to speak another language that do exist, aka gibberish, you're gonna know very quickly. Like you can't just start you're gonna know very quickly now.
So are you telling me that your uncle are you telling me that your uncle can tell if somebody's actually speaking in tongues as opposed to just faking it?
I think anybody could tell if somebody quote unquote faking it if they're speaking in
how do you tell?
You ever try to
How do you tell?
Well,
and by the way, it doesn't have to be faking it. It could be like an actual psychological event that happens. You know, like so the context that I've seen these, and I've seen videos of this, is like somebody is like in a religious fervor, and then they just start babbling, right? And like, you know, when you're in a religious fervor, that's like a different state of mind. It's not quite like being on drugs, but it has a significant impact on your psychology, right? So it seems super plausible to me that like if somebody is having a religious experience, even if that's purely psychological, that it could affect the way they behave.
All right, I get that, but again, if this is something you never witness in person, it just sounds like a load of BS, as I said. But like I said, it's very easy to tell if somebody just quote unquote faking it, as opposed to actually saying actual words now.
God damn it, I was muted. I know. So I'm just gonna pull up some examples of people speaking in tongues, and I want you to tell me whether or not they're faking it, okay?
All right.
I just want to go find a good one.
You do not.
Okay, here's one.
Teach one how to speak in an unknown tongue. Everything that any one of us
wait, no, this is not an example. Why did she lie to me? I hate when it's an example, or when they okay, here's one.
Let's let it flow.
Is this real?
That song, that kind of song like
Okay. What about it makes it sound real?
Take the Holy Spirit flow from us.
Well, I've heard tongues from several different people, right? And I know if it's right to call them words, but certain things they say in that clip, they kind of intertwine with tongues that I've heard from other people. I mean, it do have like a grammar, like a dictionary or grammar list or something.
So, and I'm double checking this because somebody just commented this and I don't want to say something that's not true, but it seems like, at least according to this commenter, and I'm digging into it now, apparently the sounds made while speaking in tongues consist exclusively of those sounds found in the speaker's native language, at least according to this person. Here it is. This is a study by Felicitas Goodman called Phonetic Analysis of Glossolalia in four cultural settings. And that seems surprising if this was like an actual different language.
Like I'm not sure if calling it a language is the most accurate. What is it? I don't like I say, I don't think that's the most accurate because I mean, I know grammatical rules, I know dictionary,
but then
I know thesaurus.
Are they words?
Well, right. There's some like how would you define tongues now? That's where the
I don't know. It sounds like gibberish.
Yeah. If you want to undermine it.
Well, no, I mean, that's just what it sounds like. I guess there's a word for it. It's called hypoglossia. But like, it's called glossolalia, or I guess hypoglossia. But like, it just sounds like there's just sounds that people are making that don't have meaningful content.
Well, I have no way to prove that that my grandmother and my uncle lying to me or not, but I don't think they have any reason to lie to me.
It could be that they're not lying to you, but just that they're having a psychological moment, right?
So you think it's physiologically, you think it's scientific?
Well, it's sort of psychological. Like it's when you have an extremely strong experience, you can, in the same way that, and I've never done this because I'm in complete control of myself, but you know how like, if you go to like a concert, okay, I'll give an example of like the Beatles. So the Beatles were so popular back in the day in like the 60s and 70s. And like, young women, teenagers, like teenage girls, they would go to these concerts and they would just like lose their mind and they would just like scream. And like, they weren't in complete control of themselves. They were overwhelmed, right? And so like, I'm not going to say that was like a physiological thing, but it's just like they're having a really significant experience, and sometimes our brains just do that.
Okay, I get what you're saying. It kind of like similar to like drugs. I mean, without ingesting substances. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't think it's the exact same thing, but similar.
Similar.
And so like I don't necessarily think that this is something that's like that somebody's lying to you about. I think that there probably are charlatans who do lie about it, but I don't think that it has to be a charlatan, somebody who's lying, in order for it to be explainable in a natural process or via a natural process.
Right. Okay, well, other than, like I said, arguing religion with logic is a steep uphill battle. And that's the strongest evidence to support religion that I have. Everything else is just like I say, is an uphill battle. So I guess if I never see it in person, it could be very difficult.
I mean, it's fair. Like, look, I understand that experiences that you've seen in person can be a lot more compelling than experiences that you just hear about or that you see online or whatever. So it might be the case that if I saw it in person, I would actually be more convinced of it. I just haven't.
Yeah.
So, until I have, perhaps it's just not a conversation worth having.
Yeah.
Well, Cheek Sniffer, despite your very silly name, I do appreciate the conversation. I appreciate you coming in good faith.
Yeah, man. I'll see you.
I'll see you. Have a good one.
Yeah, man.
What a delightful guy. Like that was actually like a good conversation. I don't say it was good because he was like conciliatory. He was like making it. He was like presenting his case. and having a like, I don't know, that was just a good guest. I wish we had more guests like that. All right, I'm gonna check out the super chats and we'll bring up our next guest. From the Not Operator with the 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much, the Not Operator. Everybody, that's 5 more people now have access to the secret Discord channel and the debate notes and the emojis and the special Ask a Physicist days where I only answer the questions from members. So thank you so much, the Not Operator, and thank you to everybody who is a member and continues to be a member. It's very much appreciated. I do want to make sure that I don't miss this Cash App. We got a Cash App from Shay for I'm not going to read it, but it's Pig Latin. It's Pig Latin for take my money. Thank you so much, Shay. It's always appreciated. And then from Tim Davidson, we have $2. No, not pure condescension. Not pure condescension, maybe 75%, 14 karat. Indeed, I'm 14 karat condescension. And then from Christopher Sanford with the £5, tongues have been studied linguistically. This was the comment I was referring to. The findings, they were exclusively composed of sounds found in the speaker's native language. Suspicious? Yeah, so I didn't know that. Thank you for informing me of that. I'm actually going to put this in my debate notes because when you learn something new, you should write it down. And that's what we do here. I'm just gonna go move this over to the debate notes really quick. So then we don't forget about it. Go put it in the to be sorted, which will be sorted eventually. It's exclusively in sounds from native language. Link, and then also a link here. So those who are members, you will have access to my debate notes, so you can see those kinds of things. And then from L'Oreal, as always, sending 5 more gifts, which is very appreciated. 5 more people now have access to those debate notes, which I just edited. So thank you so much, L'Oreal. And thank you to everybody who's been continuously supporting me. It's becoming a member is a good way to support me because it's not that expensive, but it gives me peace of mind because then I can be like, oh, I don't have to worry about missing a live stream because I know that this many people are supporting once a month. There's like it's kind of a surety, which is good for the human mind. All right, let's bring up another guest. Let's bring up QB Channel. QB Channel, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
I can. QB Channel, do you think the world was created with intention?
Yes, definitely.
And how long ago do you think the world was created?
Well, I would have to just sort of give myself a small introduction and say that I'm a Christian, I was raised a Christian, but I have slightly different views, and I think it's all up to interpretation slightly, but ultimately it's the same thing.
Okay, so how long ago do you think the world was created?
Well, I won't argue. I would say probably billions of years.
Okay.
In line with the scientific terms, you know?
Sure. So what makes you think that the science is correct there, but the Bible's not, but the Bible is correct in other things?
Well, the Bible is correct, and I think the Bible is a very, very good book. It's a very good moral book for people to follow. I think what is written in the Bible is mostly true, although I think some of it you can't take purely word for word. You've got to, there's always sort of a context to everything. I mean, when they say God created the world in 7 days, they don't literally mean 7 days. Could be
so
7
when
billion
Jesus
years, could
rose
be
from the
17
dead in 3 days,
trillion
do they
years.
literally mean that Jesus rose from the dead in 3 days?
Yes, because that is eyewitness accounts, and that is why people believe in Jesus, because
But the
there's not
Bible was
just
apparently given
yeah.
by God himself. It's even better than an eyewitness account, right?
No, that's Islam. Islam is
Where do you
was
think the
narrated
Genesis story came from?
directly to the Genesis story came from probably stories coming down from Moses and from families in the past.
Okay, so it's your position that nothing in the book of Genesis is to be trusted?
It is to be trusted, but you also have to look at it as a story. Remember, this was written.
Okay, I agree. We should look at it as I agree that we should look at it as a story rather than looking at it as factually true. So then, what makes you think that the world was created? Yeah. Because it's the Genesis account that tells us that God created the world.
Because the world is too perfect. There's too many. If you look at, even in science, you look at Fibonacci, you look at the golden ratio, you look at frequencies, you can start to delve into mystical things.
You named none of the science things.
Well, Fibonacci is a science thing. It's a mathematical thing. It's a math thing, but it's part of science.
In what way?
And look at a spiral galaxy, for example.
Yeah. Which one?
That's the type of Fibonacci.
So, actually,
I can't give an
funnily
example.
enough, can I? I'm gonna do something real quick, and we can just do this live. Is that fair? Let me just.
Yeah.
Upload file.
Look, I don't know the answers to everything.
It's okay. You don't have to know the answers to everything. That's fine.
Look at it.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
I just want to. Why can't I? Recent, maybe. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm just uploading something really quick so then we can look at it together. Don't mind me. View details, sort by date. Okay, here it is. So I'm going to show you a picture that I took last night. Here's a picture that I took last night. It's of a spiral galaxy, a very famous spiral galaxy. It's called the Whirlpool Galaxy.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Let's zoom in and let's see if it follows a Fibonacci spiral, shall we? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to screen grab this. I'm going to go take it into some photo editing software, and then we can
Okay, this is fun.
Spiral on it.
This is fun.
Isn't it? We're just gonna do it live, and maybe you'll be right.
Yeah. Maybe.
Create a new image. There we go. Okay.
But look, I mean, even when it comes to
So I'm just gonna put this over here so that I can show you what I'm doing. So here is the photo editing software that I'm using. It's called GIMP. I don't know why it's called GIMP, but it's called GIMP. Now I'm gonna go grab a golden spiral. No. But I'm familiar with it. I'm gonna go find an image of a golden spiral. So here's a golden spiral. I just gotta download. Oh, why is this a GIF? I don't want a GIF. Nobody's ever wanted a GIF before of the golden spiral. Okay. Here's a golden spiral.
You're getting all the gifts.
No, we're talking about GIF. Okay, now we want to just import new layer from. I don't know what I'm doing. I know that there's a way. Oh, you know what we can do? We can just copy the image, and then we can just paste it. Bada boom, bada bing.
Just break it up. Oh yeah.
Cool, right? Okay, so now we're just gonna take this, and we're just. No, that's not what I want.
You make it white.
Let me move you. Okay, there we go. I can move it. Okay, cool. So I just have to click here. So, come on. There we go. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to. I don't know, rotate this. I should probably flip it. How the hell do I do that?
No, keep it as is. Keep it as is for now. Just zoom in.
So here's what we're gonna do. Notice how it doesn't really match anything, but we do need to rotate it a little bit because the arms are coming off from the other side, so we have to do that.
You have to flip it. You have to flip it.
Yeah, I know. So I just gotta figure out to transform, flip horizontally. There we go. Okay, cool. We figured it out. Okay. Now the center should be like right about there. Now notice how the arm doesn't actually follow it.
No, well, look, it does. Look at the bottom. Look at the bottom.
No, but notice how the arm goes. Oh, I don't know if you can see this. Notice how the arm. So actually, we need to scale it up a little bit, I think. I mean, we can scale it up if you want, but I need to scale this because it's a little bit too small right now. layer, transform, no.
If you can change the color, maybe.
Scale layer,
maybe.
here we go. Okay, this is, you know what, I should really know what I'm doing before I do this. Shouldn't I? There, scale. That's
No, but it's actually, yeah, there.
Okay, there we go. That's probably roughly about right. Okay, so now, but notice how when I do that, so now it's scaled so that it matches on the inside, but notice how the outside doesn't align. And notice how this arm actually curls in tighter than the golden ratio does.
Yeah, but look, I mean, this is accurate up to a couple billion
So it's
light
not
years,
accurate
you know?
then,
I mean,
is what it sounds like
no,
you're saying.
No, it is. No,
Here, let's see if we can make it more
you're,
accurate.
You're
There we
taking...
go. But see
No,
see
it's-
how the angle is different?
Yeah.
It just doesn't match.
Yeah.
Like the spiral is on the outside over here, and it's on the inside over here.
It's matching. It's matching, bro. In
It's
fact,
literally not.
If you
Okay,
look
so
at it,
I'll just get
no,
this
look
paintbrush.
at it. Okay.
Hold
Look-
on, I'm
no,
gonna get a
it's
paintbrush.
matching.
I'm just gonna get a paintbrush. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Chill. So the arm goes like this, right? It doesn't follow the spiral. See how it kind of goes like that?
Look at the.
And then on the outside, it kind of goes outside, and then it goes inside, right? It's kind of looser originally, and then it's less loose later. So it just doesn't fit, right?
Yeah.
Like if we're following the
No,
arm,
it-
it's something like this, which is not the spiral.
But, yeah, but I mean,
So it doesn't match.
We're still no. Look, we are still primitive ourselves. We don't understand that astrobiology. To
But the point is
perfection.
that like
Or
the spiral galaxy doesn't match the Fibonacci spiral.
It does if you look
No,
at it.
but
from
just because it's a spiral
distance.
doesn't mean that it matches.
Not precisely.
So
Well,
if it doesn't match
pattern
precisely, then it
matches.
doesn't match. Period. Here,
No,
I'm actually gonna
patterns
try to make this
match. It's
perfect for you so that
it's
it
called. There's a word
perfectly
for it.
matches.
There's a
Okay,
word
so
for
now
it.
now it perfectly matches the inside, but it doesn't perfectly match the outside. And we can check the
Like-
other spiral
like
too.
take-
There's another spiral here. Let's check that.
It's actually a yin yang. You can copy and paste that spiral and rotate it, and you have two spirals next to each other.
So here we have a second spiral. So I'm just going to try to
this is-
rotate this again really quick.
And this is
Why can't
this
I
is
rotate
actually
this?
and it's
Transform.
so perfect actually.
Why can't I rotate it anymore? Where was the rotation tool? Transform tools. Rotate. There we go. Okay, so I would like to put the pivot in the middle, please. Like right there. And then I would like to move this so that it's in the middle. And then we can rotate it together. We'll do it together, okay? Rotate. Put the pivot in the middle. And now we're just going to rotate this to see if it matches. So here we're now matching the inside, but notice how it deviates. Oh, you can't see this. Notice, so we're now matching the inside, but then once it gets to here, it completely deviates. So I made it so like I chose it so that it matches the inside spiral, but now it completely deviates. And then we can do the same thing with this spiral over here. Here's where this one matches, but then it completely deviates. So it's just not a good match. In fact, the golden ratio does appear sometimes
matches.
in some
It
places,
matches.
but it definitely doesn't match galaxies.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, you could be taking dark matter and gravity into consideration.
This
like,
is look. You said
like
that they
if you look
match,
at,
but they don't.
Like
I showed you a picture that I
distortion.
took today, and they don't
Yeah,
match.
but what about
last
the,
night, rather.
Okay, but what is at the center of a spiral galaxy?
A black hole.
Okay, and that has got a lot of distortion because of the mass.
So
that
the
black
distortion
hole
is
has.
causing it to not take the
and-
Fibonacci shape. Just sounds like you
Possibly.
agree that the Fibonacci
Possibly.
shape is not the shape of galaxies.
It is in principle, but we're looking at it with other natural effects that is affecting the golden
so then
ratio
it's just not
and
that shape.
twisting things around.
Look,
well,
so
it won't be that shape perfectly. Like if you look at a
So-
leaf, or
so
let's
then
say
it's-
a flower,
it's just
for
not.
example. Like no, look at a sunflower, okay, and a sunflower will also have that Fibonacci pattern in it. And not all sunflowers are perfect because some sunflowers will have birds come and eat the sunflower seeds, and then it's not going to have a Fibonacci spiral. So that's the same principle. You're looking at a spiral galaxy that's got
Fibonacci,
a black hole.
So we know when Fibonacci spirals show up in nature, and we know what causes them. It's essentially when a selection process demands that that a spiral forms that is, in some sense, maximally irrational. That's when Fibonacci spirals show up. So in leaf growth patterns, maximal irrationality is useful because it means maximal exposure to the sunlight. In sunflowers,
and don't you think that
in
is
sunflower
something
seeds
that is
and in pine
immaculate?
cones? In sunflower seeds and in pine cones, we see Fibonacci spirals, or Fibonacci numbers anyway, or Fibonacci pairs show up because that is a maximal way to pack things in a way that grows circularly outward.
It's
but
the perfect pattern.
that's
It's a
evolutionarily
perfect
selected
pattern.
for. Things that don't have that pattern would have please,
look,
I'm trying to explain. Things that don't have that pattern would be evolutionarily at a they'd be evolutionarily harmed by the environment, because the ones that do have that pattern would be able to produce more offspring or produce more seeds or whatever it might be, or get more light, whatever it is. Evolutionarily harmed is not the right word, but they would be less fit for the environment than the ones that do have that pattern. So this is an evolutionary phenomenon. This doesn't require a creator.
It does, because every creation has a
Thank you.
design. Every creation has a design.
Why
and
should I
that
think that?
pattern comes from something.
And
Because,
to be clear, I don't think that the world was created.
No, it was created. All of it was created.
That's the thing that you're trying to prove.
I think that if I mean, you're an atheist, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so, but you get people that believe that we live in like a simulation. You know?
Some people do. I think that's a little silly.
Yeah, but I mean that to me, a simulation seems more plausible than being an atheist.
You can be both.
And
by
I'm
the
not-
way, you
I'm
can
not-
be an
I'm not
atheist.
trying to-
You can
I'm
be an
not
atheist
trying to
and believe that we live in a
disrespect you in
simulation.
any way.
You can be an atheist and believe in a simulation. Those are not mutually incompatible with each other. But I think that there's probably good reason to think that we don't live in a simulation. There's good scientific reasons to think that. So, what's the reason to think that it's more plausible that we live in a simulation?
Well, because of what we've just been talking about, because of patterns, because of
Do you think patterns can't
everything
arise
being
naturally?
Perfect, mathematics, which is perfect.
What do you mean perfect?
You know, science, well, mathematics is you know, everything could be described mathematically, and I mean,
Yeah,
you would
everything could be
know,
described with English.
and with English.
Yeah,
But
that's
one
because we
thing that I
invent the
think
words
you-
to describe things, just like how we invent mathematics to
one-
describe things.
But okay, but I mean, have you ever, like, I'm not gonna try to like convert you to Christianity or anything, but have you been to a church before? Have
I've
you
been to way more churches than I would ever have thought that I would go to. I've been to so many churches.
Okay, and how was your experience? What
They're cool buildings.
did you think? Okay. But I mean, did you enjoy the experience in the church? Did you feel anything? Did it
No.
seem weird?
I mean, I
for
appreciated the
you?
history.
What?
But no, I didn't feel
Okay.
anything.
Okay. Well, you see, I think that's what makes a person a believer, is that sort of mystical sort of part of the world that most scientists would not see or agree with because you can't see it. But
the
that
world isn't
is
perfect. Like
where-
the claim you were making was that like everything's so perfect. It's not.
Well, nature.
In fact,
is
you
perfect.
agreed to this when you said that things are being distorted. Like the black holes or
Yeah,
dark
so-
matter are distorting things. Like then it's not
Yeah.
perfect. If things are being distorted, how could it be perfect?
Not evil. I'm talking about here on Earth. You know, things are not perfect.
Things
and
aren't
that's because
perfect on
of
Earth.
People and the bad things that they do. You know.
So then it's not perfect.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I think I've lost you for. Okay. Sorry, what we use? What is?
If
Where were we?
if there are imperfections on Earth, then Earth is not perfect.
Yeah, Earth is not perfect, and that's our doing.
Okay, so then it's
That's
not
our
perfect.
doing.
So then how can you point to it and say, oh, it's perfect, and that points to a creator? Like, if it's not perfect, then
No.
how could it point to a creator?
Well, God gave us the ability of free will, and I think evolution.
So then it's not
and
perfect, right? We agree that it's not
bad things-
perfect.
Well, it's not. Yeah, well, it is perfect. It depends. What are you asking? Like, what are you?
I don't know, whatever
asking
sense.
is
So you
perfect
were
or not? Like,
earlier you were making the point that the world is
Specifically.
perfect, and that's how you know that there's a creator. So which part about the world is perfect?
Oh, okay. Like I'd say, nature.
Nature's perfect?
Anything natural, anything
So, like,
mineral is perfect.
So like when the Australian bushfires of 2019 and 2020 burned alive over 2 billion reptiles, that was perfect?
That's natural selection.
And that's perfect. Is that
and that's
perfect?
what you would say. Actually,
Is that perfect?
that is perfect because in the wild you have lions and you have
And it's perfect
predators
when
and
2.46
it's
billion
vicious,
reptiles burn
it's
alive.
Cruel.
So cruel things
Yeah, it
can be
happens,
perfect?
you know?
Cruel and vicious things can
Yeah,
be perfect now?
yeah, it can. I mean,
Then I don't know
it's-
what you mean by perfect then.
No, if you think perfect is all just going to be sunshine and
What do you
butterflies
mean by
and
perfect?
rainbows and unicorns, or
But then what do you mean by perfect?
Perfect is
What does that mean? If words don't mean
Perfect-
words, I don't know what you mean by perfect.
like what would you describe as perfect?
I don't know. You're the one who's saying that it's perfect. I just want you to explain what you mean by that.
Okay, well, like let's say for example, if you look at a leaf and how it grows, and it has these perfect natural way that it grows, the cells forming, and even in humans, and I mean, even if we can even go into looking at humans ourselves, because,
hold on.
I
I'm
mean,
just pulling something up really quick. So, this is perfect to you?
it is.
Oh, it is because it's a mutated form. So if this is perfect,
Yeah,
then a regular
look-
form would be imperfect.
Well, it's you don't know what happened to that leaf. Maybe it
Yeah,
wasn't
it's
exposed
mutated.
to the right kind of sunlight, or
So it's imperfect.
exactly.
So it's imperfect.
Well, now it's imperfect, but how? Yeah, I mean.
So
it's-
you said
yeah,
look
but
at
it-
leaves. Well, leaves can be imperfect. So how am I, like, what am I supposed to mean? What am I supposed to understand when you say that something is perfect?
Well, you could say anything that is natural is perfect, even if it looks weird.
Okay, are you just identifying the
distorted.
word natural
I
with
mean-
perfect? Like, what does it mean to be perfect if anything that's natural is perfect? Is that just what you mean by perfect? You just mean something that's natural?
No, I'd say no. It's not just natural. There's a lot of things, but it's not that perfect. I think we're going a little bit off the topic because perfect is actually
You were the one who
God
said it.
created the world. God created the world, and the world is perfect in God's eyes. We are created perfect in God's eyes.
Is this perfect?
But yeah, it is actually.
It doesn't look like a sunflower to me.
It had some weird things happening to it while it was growing up, and now it looks all weird.
And that's
But-
perfect. That's what you mean by perfect? You mean this thing?
It's perfect. Yeah, it's perfect because of its existence, because God created it and it is here. It's perfect. You can't. I mean, if you're talking about being perfect in the sense of aesthetically perfect.
Well, then what
or
sense of perfect do
genetically
you mean?
perfect, I'm just saying that. I see where you're going. Because, but yeah, I think. Look, perfect. perfect does. I agree with you when you say, yeah, some things are not perfect. If you know, it like a twisted leaf or something that is deformed. Yeah, it's not perfect, but I'm talking about the design. I'm talking about in general, our
So,
design, the
okay, so what about
universe,
the
Big Bang,
what
evolution.
about the recurrent laryngeal nerve? Is that perfect? Are you familiar with this?
I
The
don't know
recurrent
much
laryngeal
about
nerve?
I don't know what is the laryngeal nerve. What
So
is
you know what the
that?
larynx is? It's the voice box. The recurrent laryngeal nerve is the nerve that goes from your brain to your voice box. Now, your brain's here, your voice box is here. What would the perfect design be for the
Well,
recurrent
that
laryngeal nerve?
depends. Where I don't think there's a perfect design, probably because it depends
Oh, there isn't a perfect design? Well, if there's
on
not a perfect design, then that design can't be
well,
perfect.
no, well, the initial design is perfect. We're talking
What's
about
so
something that
okay, so which is
evolves,
the
that
initial design that's
grows, that
perfect?
changes.
Which is the initial perfect design? What would you think it would be?
I would say if you want to go down the chain all the way, the Big Bang.
I'm talking about the
If
recurrent
you want to
laryngeal
go to the
nerve.
scientific way, I would say it's the Big Bang.
I'm talking about the recurrent laryngeal
Oh,
nerve. What's the perfect laryngeal nerve? So the signal has to get from the brain,
well,
from like down here to here. What's the perfect route that it should take?
Okay. So I don't know much about that nerve, but what I can say is that if you had this laryngeal nerve,
It's supposed to go from your brain to your voice box.
as to your voice box, and you're human. Is it in a human, right?
It's in all mammals. In fact,
Yeah.
I think it's in all vertebrates.
Okay.
Well, we can talk about the one.
So
We can talk about the one in mammals or the one in humans if you want.
So if you have this nerve and it's evolving, and it's obviously not perfect because it's not at
But
the
so,
best that it
what do you think would be
possibly could be.
What do you think the perfect design could be for it?
Well, it'll be when it reaches a point where it is replaced by something else and just loses its use entirely and just evolves away into something else. Maybe we won't use our vocal cords, we'll just use telepathic
I have no
means.
idea what you're saying. Look, so the recurrent laryngeal nerve goes from the brain to the voice box. I'm asking you, what is the perfect route that nerve could take? How does it get from point A to point B most perfectly?
It probably in a straight line.
Yeah, you'd think so, right?
Yeah.
Want to know how it's actually? Because it's not a straight line, I can tell you that much. Here, let me pull up a picture for you.
Yeah, and all you
Here's a
people
picture.
out there, there's
So
wait.
The nerve goes from here down around your aorta near your heart, and then goes back up to your voice box.
Have you never heard of speaking from the heart?
Why do giraffes have this?
There must be a specific reason.
Here's the anatomy of a giraffe, which is extremely funny. So they have the recurrent laryngeal nerve, starts from the brain, goes all the way down 10 feet, wraps around the aorta, and then comes all the way back up to their voice box. Is that perfect?
I guess. I mean,
well, then why did you say that the direct route was perfect?
No, but you didn't tell me that it had to do something else. And
it doesn't. It actually doesn't do anything.
You know?
It doesn't do anything.
I'm
it doesn't do anything by going around the heart. No, it doesn't. No, the reason it literally does nothing. We actually know why it's like this, and it's not because it does anything. It's because of the evolutionary history of how it developed. But it's not perfect.
No, I think that's like kind of grasping at straws.
Grasping at straws. This is the most obvious example of a non-perfect design, of an imperfect design.
No, I'm saying no. Okay, sorry. I was thinking a little bit ahead. I was saying, like, if you think that this real over perfect design, then
You're cutting out. I can't hear any. I couldn't hear
That's what
anything
I'm
that you just
saying.
said.
I mean,
What'd you just say?
It's not. It's like, yeah.
I couldn't hear anything you just said.
I'll repeat again. I say that
Oh, he left. Okay. That's something else. It was perfect timing, if you will. Anyway, let's read some super chats. I wanted his answer too. He left. I didn't kick him. He left. And he's not in the box again. From Zed Bout with the $5. Today I learned that you can use the Fibonacci sequence to convert miles to kilometers, and I will never be the same. Keep crushing maggot splits. Yes, this is extremely useful. If you don't know this trick, you can convert kilometers to miles and vice versa using the Fibonacci sequence. So the Fibonacci sequence is 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, and it keeps going. You just add the previous two to get the next one. So it turns out, for reasons that I can explain, but it turns out that if you have a number of miles, you can approximate the number of kilometers that it is by just, like if you have 8 miles, then the number of kilometers is about 13, which is the next Fibonacci number. If you have 21 miles, that is about 21 kilometers, that's about 13 miles because it's the previous Fibonacci number. So this can be a very useful tool for converting from kilometers to miles or vice versa. It's because the ratio between the Fibonacci numbers approaches the golden ratio, and the golden ratio is very close to the ratio between a mile and a kilometer. So now you know. From Dr. Fudge with the $10, Blitz, you utter fool. Everything is perfect by virtue of how perfect it is, and you can tell what's perfect and what's not perfect because of the way that it is. Get with the program. Yeah, that's how it felt. That's how it felt what I was doing was. And from Sustaining Nimbus with the $5, remember how God looked upon what he had made and said it was perfect? Oh wait, yeah, apparently not. But I mean, if you take that, if you take the Genesis story as fiction, then it all makes sense. From Orion Cooper with the $2, the only thing perfect is Princess Superstar. I don't know who that is, but thank you for the $2. All right, so we have 9 minutes left. You can tell what things are you can tell things what, wait, what does this say? This might be funny. You can tell what's perfect because imperfect things are also perfect, apparently. Yeah, there you go. There you go. I think that we might just end the live stream here. Just because I have a meeting in like an hour and I have a doctor's appointment in 2 hours, so I have to go eat lunch and I want to be done with lunch before my meeting. So I'm gonna end the live stream here. I will be live tomorrow for more atheism content if that's the kind of stuff that you guys like. We will be doing that topic tomorrow morning, and yeah, everything should go perfectly. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember, if you want to support me, the best way to do so is to become a member on YouTube, or a super fan on TikTok, or a Patreon, or a subscriber on Twitch. These are the best ways to support me. With one more super chat from Matt Lloyd with the £5. Me to my fiance, sorry babe, I'm just speaking from my laryngeal nerve. True, indeed, you can speak from your laryngeal nerve. In fact, that's how everybody speaks. Oh, and we have one more Cash App from Grimlock. Guess probably means sufficient instead of perfect. He might mean that, but he didn't say that, so I can't know. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for